Dover Downs International Speedway in Delaware for the Peak Performance 500, and we are live as the field begins to pull away. And if the pole winner can win the race, he'll pick up a bonus of $159,600 from Unocal. The grid now begins to move away from the pit area as we get set for the race this afternoon. There you see Harry Gant moving by, Michael Waltrip. There is Dale Earnhardt, the current points leader in Winston Cup competition, who will begin this race from 15th position this afternoon. 40 cars and drivers move out onto the racetrack for a couple of warm-up laps before we get the green flag and what will probably at least 4 hours of racing here this afternoon. It's a very grueling race for these drivers. The last week at Richmond, we had temperatures of 95 degrees, and the drivers were just exhausted after that competition. And they should be in the same shape after today's, although it isn't nearly as warm as it was in Richmond last week. Now we have a car smoking very badly already. That is Larry Pearson, who is scheduled to start in 8th position this afternoon, but there may be a problem with that car prior to the drop of the green flag. Now let's take a look at the starting lineup for today's Peak Performance 500 here at Dover. On the pole at 146.169 miles an hour, Davey Allison, his second pole of the year in number 28. Alan Kowicki will flank him on the outside. He's in the Xerox Antifreeze Ford, car number 7. Going to row number 2, it's Ken Schrader from Fenton, Missouri in the number 25 Folgers Coffee Chevrolet. Outside of that second row in 4th starting position from St. Louis, Rusty Wallace in car number 27, the Kodiak Pontiac. Starting in row number 3 on the inside will be Jeff Bodine from Chemung, New York, and then number 5, Levi Garrett Chevrolet. In 6th position in the Miller High Life Buick, car number 84, it's Dick Trickle from Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin. Starting in 7th position inside row number 4 will be Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia in the number 9 Coors Ford. Starting in 8th position, the number 16 car driven by Larry Pearson, the Chattanooga Chew Buick. Larry is from Spartanburg, South Carolina. Going to row number 5 now, it's Darrell Waltrip from Franklin, Tennessee in the number 17 Tide Chevrolet. And then starting in 10th position from Batesville, Arkansas, number 6, the Strolite Ford. The driver is Mark Martin. Row number 6 consists of Rick Wilson in car number 4. He's from Bartow, Florida, the Kodak Film Oldsmobile. He will start the race, but may seek relief later from Tommy Ellis. And outside in 12th starting position, Sterling Marlin from Columbia, Tennessee, in the number 94 Sunoco Ultra Olds. Harry Gant will start in 13th position in the Skoll Bandit Oldsmobile car number 33. Harry hails from Taylorsville, North Carolina. And then Ricky Rudd from Chesapeake, Virginia, driving the number 26 Quaker State Buick. Going back to row number 8 now on the inside, 15th starting position from Kannapolis, North Carolina, it's Dale Earnhardt in the number 3 GM Goodwrench Chevrolet. And starting in 16th position, Michael Waltrip from Owensboro, Kentucky in the Country Time Pontiac, car number 30. And we'll now let you take a look at the rest of the starting lineup as the cars move down the backstretch on their warm-up laps.
And Bob Jenkins, even before we even got the race started, the safety truck has to go out and put some oil dry on the racetrack for oil that Larry Pearson lost on the Speedway. We saw Larry smoking a little bit ago. He did put some oil down. NASCAR has sent a truck out to put something down to absorb the fluid.
Let's call in Jack Arute for more on this story. Jack?
Well, Bob, you can see why they've got to send out the crews here early on before the drop of the green. Larry Pearson simply broke an oil line, dumped a lot of his oil that was in the holding tank out on the racetrack. So this should indeed delay the race for maybe a lap or so while they put down the speedy dry.
All right, thank you, Jack, for that pre-race report. We have 3 in-car cameras for you this afternoon. The Peak Race Cam to be carried by Kyle Petty. And there's a look as Kyle as he motors around this 1-mile racetrack in preparation for the start of the event. Michael Waltrip will also carry one of our in-car cameras. He looks pretty relaxed as he gets set to go for 500 miles, the Country Time Lemonade Pontiac. And Harry Gant also carries one of our in-car cameras for us. And there's the bumper cam as we look back on Dale Earnhardt.
You know, it's amazing that Dale Earnhardt qualified on the outside pole here just a couple of months ago and led 450 some laps of the 500, and he's back in 15th spot.
Hey, it's just sponsor the competition we see today.
Now the crew cam is being carried this afternoon by our own pit reporter, Dr. Jerry Punch. Jerry, how are things going down there? Looks good, the picture, by the way.
Well, thank you very much. My first picture as a cameraman, but I got a lot of oil dry here in the pit, gentlemen, where about 12 or 13 quarts of oil came out of the Larry Pearson car. Some of the Kodiak crew in front of me sweeping up a big pile of oil here on pit road as they get ready to go to green here next time by.
All right, and one thing we'll mention right at the beginning of the race, in fact, before it begins, is the noise factor here. The turns are banked at 24 degrees, and it's almost like racing in and doing a broadcast from a cup or a bowl. The noise just has no place to escape, and so sometimes perhaps our audio from the pit area won't be as crisp as it could be, and we'll try to help you out with that. Now, Larry Pearson goes back out onto the racetrack in car number 16. After breaking an oil line before the event started.
And Bob, he blew an engine late in practice here yesterday and was a little apprehensive going into the race. We're about ready for green.
Here's the pace car moving in and the crowd on its feet as Davey Allison and Alan Kowicki lead them down. The green flag is out. The race is on. Kowicki has moved to the front in the backstretch, headed for turn number 3, taking the lead away from Davey Allison, the pole sitter.
But here comes Davey back on the ends. There we're seeing Rusty Wallace and Ken Schrader.
Everybody through the first lap in good shape. Davey Allison has grabbed the lead, but now Dale Earnhardt is engaged in a battle with the 75 car of Morgan Shepherd, as now we have an excellent shot from the bumper cam. Look how close he comes.
Well, he don't mind sticking the nose of that Chevrolet up there. He's following Harry Gant. That's whose car we were looking out the back of as Gant tries to make his way up through the pack.
And on the outside of those cars, Morgan Shepherd in the 75, the blue and white car, trying to go on the outside of Harry Gant. So Dale Earnhardt, even if he has a faster car, can't get by at this point.
The bumper cam from Harry Gant's car, looking back on Dale Earnhardt.
There we see Kyle Petty in the Peak Pontiac, and there we're looking inside Kyle's car. He's right directly behind Dale Earnhardt.
So Earnhardt, sandwiched between two of our in-car cameras, as now he moves to the inside of Harry Gant. Gant's car slides high onto the racetrack, and Dale Earnhardt picks up that position.
Gant's car does seem to be going a little high in the turns. Let's watch him this time as he goes up Kyle Petty trying to move on the inside of him, but can't quite do it. Of course, Harry is noted for liking to run a high line. He might be just trying to work himself out of groove up high here pretty early.
Rusty Wallace has just taken over second position from Alan Kowicki. So the leader now is Davey Allison, with Rusty Wallace running second, Alan Kowicki third, Dick Trickle fourth, and Ken Schrader, number 25, is fifth.
Dick Trickle, an excellent run going so far. He looked inside of Kowicki coming off the second corner, tried to take that spot away.
Well, of course, Trickle had an excellent season for a while this year when we were on the short tracks, and now as we get back to the tracks that are a mile and a half and shorter, we expect nice things from Dick Trickle, and he's certainly turned in a good qualifying performance and is currently running in fourth position.
In fact, he thought he had a shot at the pole here on Friday. He was running very strong in practice and did have a good qualifying run.
Davey Allison has separated himself just a little bit from the rest of the field. There's the interval between first and second, as Rusty Wallace has second place nailed down at the moment. And a long train of cars behind Rusty. That's Kowicki in seven, then Trickle and Ken Schrader. Behind Schrader is Jeff Bodine, then Bill Elliott, Sterling Marlin, Mark Martin, Darrell Waltrip, and Ricky Rudd. Here's a good battle, side-by-side competition, as the number 42 car of Kyle Petty tries to get inside of 75 Morgan Shepherd, and Rick Wilson is there in car number 4. As we mentioned, of course, Rick was involved in quite a fiery accident in Richmond last weekend, and he doesn't know how long he's going to be able to stay in that car. Tommy Ellis will relieve if necessary. There is Morgan Shepherd in car number 75 as we watch him from Kyle Petty's car, and right now, Morgan Shepherd runs in 15th position, so Kyle would be 16th.
Shepard's car drifting a little bit high. There's a lot of question mark this morning down in the garage area on what kind of chassis situation he was going to take early on today at Dover, because, folks, it rained very, very hard last night. This is a brand new speedway for these fellas. Kyle Petty on the inside trying to get by coming off the second corner.
Benny Morgan Shepherd told me this morning that he hopes the sun will shine this afternoon, that his car was set up a little bit tight, and he hopes the track will get slick.
Let's go to Jerry Punch for a comment on pit road.
A lot of drivers this morning, gentlemen, changed the gearing in the car, and there was a lot of guessing going on in the garage area because of the heavy torrential rains we had last night. You can't even tell. They ran a Busch Car National race here yesterday. All the rubber has been washed away. Barry Dotson just a moment ago told me that Rusty's complaining of their car being very loose. In fact, Rusty says a number of the cars that he's seeing in his mirror look extremely loose on the racetrack. They're going to have to bear with it until they get a caution flag and come in and adjust the stagger on the car.
All right, and Dale Earnhardt now runs in 10th position in that number 3 as he is behind the 94 of Sterling Marlin and the 6 car of Mark Martin. And now Earnhardt moves to the inside and picks up 9th spot from Marlin.
We mentioned that Dale Earnhardt qualified 15th in June. He had one of the best cars here. It looks like he might have one of the best cars here again, Dave.
Yeah, in practice yesterday afternoon, he had the fastest corner speeds of any driver out there. He was going through the turns faster than anyone, and that'll become a key factor as this race goes on.
Battle for 2nd and 3rd position as Davey Allison continues to lead this Peak Performance 500 here at Dover Downs International Speedway. Rusty Wallace, Alan Kowicki, and Dick Trickle in 3rd. Now Dick moves to the inside of Alan Kowicki and tries to take over the position. Can't do it. Falls back in line. 500 miles of racing this afternoon here on ESPN. Settle back and enjoy an afternoon of competition Winston Cup style. We'll be back right after this. International Speedway, you can see that Ford has won 3 of the last 4 events, and a Ford driven by Davey Allison is currently the leader, having gotten the lead from Alan Kowicki before the completion of the first lap and has been leading ever since. And there is Rusty Wallace in a Pontiac running 2nd, and the number 7 car of Kowicki is 3rd. Here is the number 11 car, another Ford, the Junior Johnson prepared machine, driven by Terry Labonte and Jimmy Spencer in car number 88.
Yeah, the 11 car of Terry Labonte has been going backwards. He qualified in the 25th position, but he has been moving backwards. We see Jimmy Spencer now trying to get on the inside of him. The car just isn't working too well. Benny, he's what, back 27th now?
27th spot. That's just the race. Spencer on the inside. The Crisco Pontiac trying to get by Terry Labonte.
For next season, Budweiser will be back with Junior Johnson as sponsor, but Crisco will not be back on this number 88 car as they seek another one for 1990. And of course, Terry Labonte, who earlier announced that he is forming his own team, has not yet found sponsorship and may be a candidate for the 55 car if he can't put his own team together. Here is Allison moving off corner number 4 and completing lap number 20. Look at the interval he's opened up already on Rusty Wallace and the others.
Pretty doggone impressive, but that was the word down in the garage area. Jerry Punch and I took a trip through this morning, and they were saying that Davey Allison probably the best car here this afternoon, and so far they're correct.
And Dale Earnhardt in number 3 has moved to 6th. He's right behind the 5th place runner, Ken Schrader, and he may have 5th here in just a moment as he moves to the inside of Ken, who won yesterday's Busch Grand National race here at Dover. Earnhardt going low, Schrader high, and Earnhardt goes to 5th.
Boy, that car is working, and it did here in June when they run the Budweiser 500. He could go anywhere on the racetrack he wanted to go. And as this track gets slicker, that handling ability will become more important.
And pass for 2nd position as Alan Kowicki goes around Rusty Wallace, and Alan now is 2nd, Rusty 3rd, Trickle still hanging in there in 4th spot in the gold and white number 84, and now Trickle may make a bid on Rusty Wallace for 3rd. They're side by side as they come out of corner number 2 and down the backstretch.
And old buddy Rusty Wallace, don't look in your rear view mirror because the black number 3 is right behind you. Your old buddy.
The 2 that are going for the Winston Cup in 1989 worth $1 million at the end of the season.
Rusty's car, as reported from the pits, a little bit loose here early in the going, so he'll just try to hang on and try to stay as far up front as he can until he can get in and get a pit stop and make an adjustment on the car.
So Wallace is fourth, Earnhardt is fifth. Here comes Jeff Bodine in car number 5 and Bill Elliott as those two have hooked up and begin now to catch Ken Schrader. Jeff Bodine, who had to make a late fuel stop last week while running in second position. Here's Rusty and Dale, the two going for the points. Now here goes Earnhardt to the inside of Wallace in turn number 3, and Dale Earnhardt is definitely marching toward the front.
Well, that didn't take long, did it?
No, wow. You know, we've only been 25 laps already. Earnhardt is the top 5.
Well, I think everybody down in the garage area figured that he and Davey Allison were the two best in practice yesterday afternoon. And his qualifying position back in 15th didn't indicate just how good his car was.
Well, Bill Elliott won the 88 Budweiser 500. We'll watch Ken Schrader here move to the inside of Rusty. Wallace losing positions here rather rapidly. Schrader goes inside and he passes Rusty Wallace, and a car appears to be smoking. There's a little bit of smoke in turn number 1 and 2 as the cars move through there.
Looks like James Hilton's automobile has had a problem, and he's coasting in turn 3.
So there will be no yellow, at least for the moment, as Hilton brings his smoking race car into the pit area.
As Rusty Wallace goes back a little bit, Alan Kowicki is beginning to pick up a little bit on Davey Allison.
We're in the early stages of the Peak Performance 500 here at Dover Downs International Speedway in Delaware, and we'll be back with more right after this. For the opportunity to grab that lead away. Here he is moving off corner number 4.
Well, once he cleared Rusty Wallace, Alan Kowicki took off and mowed that lead down that Davey had. And look at him. Allison goes high. Here comes Kowicki.
Kowicki moving inside of Davey Allison in turn number 2. They come down the backstretch. Allison not willing to give up the spot, but he's going to have to. And look at Dick Trickle, who has also caught Davey Allison. A 3-car battle here for the lead. Trickle moves to the inside of Davey Allison in turn number 4. He's looking for second position, and he's got it. Let's see if he holds it going into turn number 1. Yes, he does. Dick Trickle is second.
Dale Earnhardt, meanwhile, is right behind Davey Allison. We've got a terrific race going for the lead here at Dover this afternoon.
Let's go to Jack Arute, who can comment on the 28 cars.
Well, about 5 laps ago, Davey Allison said the car felt very good. Then 4 laps ago, he said it was beginning to get just a tad loose. 2 laps ago, he complained that the car had totally gone away. It was so loose he could hardly handle it. So now he's dropping off the pace, waiting for the first caution as we watch Dale Earnhardt go by. Your pole winner, Davey Allison.
You know what, Bob? I wonder if on this green racetrack, as I said, it rained last night. I wonder if some of these fellas might be blistering some tires early on this rough surface until we get some rubber in.
Well, something has caused the handling to go away on several of the cars. Not only Davey Allison, but Rusty Wallace's handling also appears to have gone away. He's lost several positions. But on the other hand, things are working well for Alan Kowicki and Dick Trickle and Dale Earnhardt. Forecast was for the possibility of more rain this afternoon. However, right now skies are partly sunny. There is Rick Wilson in car number 4 as he tries to go as long as he can. The car sliding there just a little bit in turn number 4. He has a broken right foot and a broken left toe as a result of a crash just last weekend at Richmond, Virginia.
And here Butch Miller spun out. Butch doesn't run very often. He was running at Richmond, spun out. He stops in the middle of the racetrack. Rick Wilson has no brakes, and you can see just how hard he plowed in the back of Butch Miller. And look what happened. Both cars just burst into flames. Rick Wilson started to walk away and couldn't make it as Truman went over and literally carried him away. And Jerry Punch is down in the Rick Wilson pits with more. Jerry?
Well, I spoke to Rick before the race started. He was concerned about the vibration of his right foot. He said, I'll go as long as I can, but I don't want to hurt myself. I got to go to Martinsville next weekend. And there in Martinsville, they're going to use a lot of brake pedal. The problem they have now, the car is so loose in the motor, they really haven't used his right foot on the brake and on the accelerator. But they do have National Series point leader, Tommy standing by here in the Kodak uniform. Spell, Rick Wilson. gentlemen.
All right, thank you. Here comes Morgan Shepherd in for a pit stop. Car number 75, certainly an unscheduled stop for Morgan. He was running in 21st position. It's only lap number 39. They're changing the rubber on the right side of this Valvoline Pontiac.
They better get down and check that left rear and make sure it isn't blistered. Jerry Punch is there.
Morgan Shepherd pulling away, gentlemen. There was a lot of concern over the possible tire wear here. The right side tires, they don't appear to be blistered. Apparently there was concern maybe a tire going down. We'll check the push box in a moment and get back with you.
All right, so Morgan picks up speed and moves back out onto the racetrack after an early unscheduled pit stop.
That'll put him at least a lap down, so he has a lot of making up to do. However, we've seen cars here at Dover that have come from way back and still even win or finish high.
You can see he's come out onto the racetrack just ahead of our leader, Alan Kowicki. As a matter of fact, Kowicki passes him right now, and so does second place Dick Trickle in turn number 2.
Those right sides certainly didn't fix the car because Alan Kowicki, Dick Trickle, Earnhardt, Davey Allison able just to drive by with ease.
We'll check the scoring and get it official, but I believe that put Morgan 2 laps down when they went around at this time.
That is the word we get from Ken Martin, our statistician in the booth. So he is 2 laps down already. Morgan Shepherd. There is Dale Earnhardt, who is running in 4th spot. As now Kowicki moves to the high side and continues to lap some of the slower traffic.
That's J.D. McDuffie in the blue Pontiac, the Rumpel Pontiac. Tom Rumpel down in Elkin, North Carolina. Many years a benefactor of J.D. McDuffie.
First 3 cars are running right together on the racetrack, nose to tail. That's Alan Kowicki, Dick Trickle, and Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt slides a little bit high in the corner, a little bit of tire smoke off the right side, but that's commonplace. Here is Bill Elliott now in car number 9.
Putting a lap on the lake speed, car number 83.
Currently, Bill Elliott finds himself in 6th position. He won the 1988 Budweiser 500 here at Dover and started from 17th position. That was the furthest back that any driver has ever started at Dover and won. Elliott has 3 wins here on this racetrack. 2 spring races, and he won the Peak 500 in 1988.
Dick Trickle keeping the pressure on Alan Kowicki. He's going to try to lead this thing.
Unbelievable. Trickle is really taking that Buick for a ride. He is right on the rear wing of the 7 car.
Old Dick Trickle, don't you? Now, these guys have been racing for many, many years. Both these fellas, many years racing the ASA circuit up in the Midwestern part of the United States, Milwaukee and places, Salem, Indiana. So they're not strangers to each other by any stretch of the imagination.
No, they aren't. They know each other's habits pretty well, and both of them have been hard chargers all during their careers.
Trickle still trying to position himself to the inside of Alan Kowicki, but for the moment, Kowicki holds off the challenge.
Well, here comes Trickle on the inside. I think he might have him this time, Bob.
Let's see if he does. At the line, they're virtually side by side. They go into 1, 2 abreast, side by side. Trickle to the inside and Kowicki to the outside. Still, neither driver willing to give an inch, and Trickle comes away with the lead.
Well, he finally let his old buddy go by. Thank goodness Alan let Dick lead a lap.
Meanwhile, it's Dale Earnhardt who continues to run in 3rd position. Earlier in the weekend, Benny asked Earnhardt, what if your old buddy Rusty beat you for that important Winston Cup?
What old buddy?
Rusty.
Oh, he's my friend sometime back in Charlotte.
On the racetrack, he's not.
We're in Dover.
And next week, you're going to be in Martinsville, right?
Yeah, that's right. We're pretty good friends, and we enjoy racing together, and it's a lot of fun, but he's serious when it comes about racing, and I am too, and we're not going to do anything crazy to each other, but still we're going to race each other hard as we can.
I just spoke with Richard Childers, who's the car owner for Dale Earnhardt, and asking him why Dale hadn't made any more of a move toward the front. He said, hey, we used our tires up here. We started 15th, and Dale must have been a little hard on the tires to get up to 3rd spot. Now the car is so very loose, he's having a difficult time even holding off Davey Allison. So they're going to be content to sit there and ride, and possibly, like Rusty Wallace and a few other drivers, hope to get a caution flag, get in, and make an adjustment on the stagger. Gentlemen?
Jerry Punch, what's going to happen is when there's a caution flag or these cars make a pit stop, they're all going to make massive changes in the chassis. And then the racetrack's going to change, and they're going to be back out to lunch again and have to put the cars back exactly the way they were. Right now, it's purely a question mark. Well, look at this, 3 abreast.
They're really tightening up because Hut Strickland is there in car number 57, causing the top 3 to all bunch together. No change of position for the moment, but man, they are tight. Let's go to Jack Arute with more on that situation that Benny was talking about.
Well, Bob and Benny, I think what you'll find is most of the front runners will, as you say, make major adjustments. One that might not, however, is Dick Trickle. I checked with Jim Fenning, the crew chief, and he said Trickle says the car is just a little bit loose, but likes the condition of the car right now, and they've got no complaints. That may also account for why he's been able to carve his way to the front.
All right, so everything well with Trickle, but look at Earnhardt and Alan Kowicki battling for second position. Here comes Earnhardt to the inside in turn number 4. Ooh, they touch! A huge puff of smoke comes from the cars as they make contact right at the starting line, taking everybody's breath away here in the main grandstand. But Dale Earnhardt comes away with second position, and Alan Kowicki is back to third. The leader remains Dick Trickle.
And you would say, why would Dale Earnhardt want to lead, want to get to the front this early? Let's watch this replay again, and you can see the contact as they come off turn 4, down the front straightaway. Now watch. Earnhardt starts coming up the hill, and they touch. Look, the cars head for the infield. Alan Kowicki did a super job saving that car.
Yeah, both of them did. I'll tell you, lesser drivers would have caused a major accident right there.
Harry Gant has a problem. He's dropped his Skull Bandit to the inside of the racetrack and is headed for pit road. We watch from the in-car camera. Here comes Harry Gant in for an unscheduled stop, and there's smoke coming from that car. Jerry Punch is there.
Well, apparently Harry is radioed into something that's going to come apart in the motor. A lot of smoke in the car, and Harry said, I'm headed to the garage area. So Gant will take the Skull Oldsmobile back to the garage. Leo Jackson and the crew will go back and see what the problem is. Tough break for Harry Gant.
He unloosens the safety harness and will be getting out of that number 33 car here on lap number 55. Now let's take a look now at the top 5 here in the Peak Performance 500 and the point leaders and where they stand.
International Raceway, and Darrell Waltrip has brought his car on the racetrack back onto pit road for service. The first of the cars that were complaining of being loose, Waltrip went a lap down and elected to come in and make the change of all 4 tires. They completed their work and he's off and away. Huh?
He had lost a lap just before pitting, and now he goes 2 laps down. Darrell Waltrip just not operating the way he wants to this afternoon.
No, he sure isn't. The car, as they said, as Jack Arute mentioned just a moment ago, lapped on the racetrack under green flag conditions in just a little bit over 50 laps. Very much unlike Darrell Waltrip.
Now the leader encountering some traffic as just ahead lie several cars, including Terry Labonte, and there is the progress of Dick Trickle so far. Started 6th, moved to 3rd at the end of 25 laps, and at the end of 60 laps found himself in the lead. But look at the traffic he's got to contend with, and while all that's going on, he has himself in a battle for the lead with Dale Earnhardt, and Dale's going to go into the lead and pick up those valuable 5 points.
Well, I'll tell you, you give him a little bit of an opening, he'll stick that nose of that Chevrolet down in there and go.
So Earnhardt now has the lead as he encounters the traffic.
And that yellow car on the inside of Dale Earnhardt, the number 22 car, that's Rob Moroso. I think it's about his 2nd ever Winston Cup event. Next year going to run all the events on the Winston Cup circuit.
With Crown Petroleum as his sponsor.
Now Trickle is going to have to move around Terry Labonte here. He's losing valuable time as Earnhardt is pulling away. There is Trickle now on the high side of Terry Labonte. Here comes Alan Kowicki behind him, the number 7 Xerox car. Battle of the antifreezes here this weekend with Xerox and Prestone and Peak and everybody involved.
If you need some antifreeze, folks, that'd be a good time to get it.
So there's Trickle, who now finds himself in 2nd position. Kowicki caught behind Labonte. And that red car, number 99, driven by Norm Benning. We go inside one of the antifreeze sponsored cars. This is Kyle Petty. We'll ride with him. The 26 car driven by Ricky Rudd and the 15 car of Brett Bodine. This is 14th and 15th position, and Brett will take over the number 26 car next year for Kenny Bernstein.
And Ricky Rudd, the driver of the green number 26, will be driving the 5 car owned by Rick Hendrick and sponsored by Levi Garrett, the one that Jeff Bodine is currently driving. Jeff Bodine, this is going forever.
I know.
We better just stop now.
Rudd's car goes a little high in the turns. Brett Bodine, another of those drivers, thought he had a shot at the pole, and he got a little loose going into turn 3 on his qualifying run and wound up having to qualify on the second day, but he's made his way back up through 15th. He started in the 22nd position, so he's moving towards the front.
Well, Benny, you mentioned it. Now we'll follow up on it here in just a little bit. Terry Labonte, as we mentioned earlier, has formed his own team. Still no sponsor. He's looking. Jeff Bodine will move to Junior Johnson. Rick Wilson moves to Raymock, and Ricky Rudd goes to the Rick Hendrick operation.
There's another page. There we go.
Oh, okay. Bodine moves to Bernstein. Rob Moroso, who is here today in his 3rd start, will make it a full series next year. Bobby Allison has formed his own team. Mike Alexander might drive for him. And Phil Parsons has indicated he will move to the number 4 car, currently driven by Rick Wilson.
Is there another page?
That's it.
No, back to the race.
And there is Rusty Wallace, who now is in 7th position. And Jerry Punch can talk about Rusty Wallace.
A lot of concern before the race today that they may be able to guess right and be able to shuffle their way to the front and take off. Well, they guessed wrong, apparently. And Jimmy Maycar said, hey, we just made a little bit of an error in the guess. Trouble in turn 4, Bob.
Yeah, it's Ernie Irvin who has scraped the wall in turn number 4. He rides the car along the wall or near it. Down across the line, the caution flag is out for the first time this afternoon, and there's damage to the right side of that Ernie Irvin car.
Ernie blew a right front tire going in turn 3 as Jerry Punch was talking about Rusty Wallace. And as we were watching, I looked up and saw Ernie going to the corner, blew a right front tire, and bam, hit the wall.
And there was debris down there in the turn. We'll replay it again and watch the upper left of your screen from our speed shot at the starter stand. There he is. You can see him right into the wall.
Yes, the car just turned right. And when the tire goes flat, there's nothing, the driver just doesn't have any control at all.
So it's our first caution period of the afternoon. We went 70 laps before we had that first caution fly over Dover Downs International Speedway. And now here are these pit stops that nearly everyone has been waiting for. Dale Earnhardt comes in under caution in lap number 71, and the Kirk Shelmerdine, Richard Childress crew go to work on the right side of that car.
He must be running a little bit warm because they're really paying a lot of attention to the grill on that Chevrolet.
Alan Kowicki is in, and Jack Arute reports.
Bob, they're going to change 4 tires on Alan Kowicki's car. Likewise for the 2 cars, one in front of him and one behind him. That, of course, of Davey Allison in front is Dale Earnhardt is away, and Dick Trickle is having a tremendous run. Now, Allison is the first of the triumvirate here to go away. They're having trouble adjusting the chassis on Alan Kowicki's car, and they have left the ratchet in. The ratchet to adjust the wedge in the left rear has been left in. Kowicki will have to come back in to have that removed. Remember at Bristol, that's what took Jimmy Spencer out of the hunt for the lead when he was running so well.
Looks like another radio antenna on the left rear of that car. It's a ratchet wrench in Alan Kowicki's machine.
It's going to take him out of the race for the lead as well, because track position means so much. Look what an extension the ratchet has on it.
Yep, that will cost him track position, which is so important at any racetrack. Tough to get back up through the field.
There we see Kowicki. He's going to have to dip down low and go into the pits. There we go. I know he hates to do it, but he has to be done.
So pit stops have been completed here under caution as the track crew remains in turn number 4, cleaning up the debris from Ernie Irvin's involvement with it. And here you can see the crewman taking the ratchet wrench off the number 7 car. We'll go back and replay the exit of Dale Earnhardt. Oh, there was Ernie Irvin moving right down, who apparently had no brakes and almost got into Earnhardt's car.
What Ernie was doing was going into the garage area to be out of the race, to just take his car and put it on the truck, and he tried to turn in the road there. And Earnhardt was going by. He's lucky that they didn't make a T-bone deal out of the situation.
He really was fortunate.
So, under caution for the first time here at Dover. We'll be back with more of our live coverage right after this. Trackbacks are brought to you by the Robert Bosch Corporation, makers of Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug.
Everyone knows how important coil springs are to the chassis setup of a Winston Cup car. Well, NASCAR prohibits the changing of a coil spring during a Winston Cup race. So what many of the crews have adapted to doing is what they call putting a rubber in the right front. Now, before those of you chuckle at home, let me show you what they're actually doing. Now, when the Kodiak Pontiac comes into a pit stop, Jimmy Maycar will take the right front tire off and insert one of these rubber donuts in between the coils of the spring. Now, if he wants the spring to be increased in tension about 150 pounds, he'll put a half a donut in. If he wants it to go up as much as 300 pounds, he'll put a whole donut in. This spring, normally 2,000 pounds, could be made to go up to 2,300 pounds of tension or resistance, making the right front stiffer on the car and making the car handle much better in the corner.
So that's one way to make adjustments, and here's another way with the ratchet that is supposed to come off the car when you're completed doing the work.
Well, there's an extension on the ratchet that goes down on the bolt that sits on top of the left front spring. And when you turn that ratchet, either tighten or loosen the bolt, that will make a chassis adjustment. And Jackaroot has the ratchet with him.
And Benny, here's what the problem is. You see this little ball here where there's a hole normally in a wrench that you would use this if you were working on your car. But when you put this inside the car and connect to the wedge bolt, it doesn't lock in. But what happened to Alan Kulwicki is he literally got stuck. It couldn't come out. They were pulling at it, and finally Alan had to go as we get ready to go to green, so he had to come back into the pits.
All right, so that's the explanation on Alan Kulwicki's problem, and now we get set to go back to green as the flag comes out on lap number 77. And Dale Earnhardt is the leader of the race with Davey Allison second, and Dick Trickle running in third spot. Look at Earnhardt get the jump.
Davey Allison was in behind the Terry Labonte Budweiser Ford. He had a little problem getting by Terry Labonte. Let's see if he can catch Dale Earnhardt now.
Dick Trickle working to the high side of Labonte. Look at this group of cars, including Lake Speed, the 17 of Darrell Waltrip, the 21 of Neil Bonnet, the 71 of Dave Marcus, and the 27 of Rusty Wallace, as he has got some major traffic with him. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who can tell us about the problems that Darrell Waltrip has experienced so far.
Well, the car number 17 has been so very loose that Darrell has not been able to even drive it. During this most recent caution flag, Darrell came in, they put the car on jack stands here on pit road, and they changed the right and rear spring to try to add a little more bite to the rear of the car being so loose he couldn't drive it. And now the Tide crew is watching very carefully to see if they've gone the right way, possibly, for driver Darrell.
Well, Neil Bonnet has just passed him, and here comes Rusty Wallace to do the same, so things are still not right with that 17 car.
Rusty Wallace, a half lap down when the caution flag came out, was not able to get back up to the front. He certainly doesn't want to be in the middle of such a pack of cars. Unfortunately, he has no choice. All these guys are racing as hard as they possibly can.
And the drivers are viewing this as a key race in the battle for the Winston Cup. The next two events are going to be on racetracks of 5/8 and a half mile. Will be next weekend in Martinsville, the half mile, and then we move to the 5/8 of North Wilkesboro.
Now here's Alan Kulwicki. Remember, he had to come back in the pits. He hasn't made a great deal of progress. There are 19 cars in the lead lap. He is currently running 18th. Dale Jarrett, the car right behind him, is running 19th. Jimmy Spencer right in front of him, running in 17th position. Sterling Marlin right there, and so is Mark Martin. So a lot of heavy traffic up ahead of Alan Kulwicki. He could have been out in some clean running up front if it had not been for that wrench left in the car.
Here's your field rundown at the end of 75 laps. Watch for your favorite driver. We're watching Alan Kowicki move back up through the field. Jimmy Spencer there in car number 88 and Lake Speed in number 83. Jim Sauter drives the green and white number 44 behind Alan Kowicki.
Lake Speed, Bullseye Barbecue Sauce Oldsmobile, and Jimmy Spencer, the Crisco Pontiac, look like they're pretty evenly matched, and no one's going to give. They all want that spot. Looks like Spencer has it.
Now here comes Allen to move to the inside of Lake. Lake Speed was running 25th at the end of 75 laps. A little bit of contact there between Lake and Allen.
Well, that's right, Alan Kowicki. Darrell Waltrip is a little bit slower than Darrell Waltrip usually is. He's really slow traffic, and Kowicki needed to get out from behind Darrell Waltrip and took a chance, moved up the racetrack, almost got in the side of Lake Speed.
Let's take a look at a pit stop summary from the first series. Earnhardt went in first and came out first. Dick Trickle lost one position. Kowicki really lost because of that problem with the ratchet, and Rick Wilson went in 8th and came out in 5th position, so he picked up some positions, but Alan Kowicki was the one that really suffered.
It'll take him 200 or 300 miles to get himself back in position that he was before the caution flag, and I tell you what, that's why the pits is such an important place at each and every Winston Cup race these days.
There's first and second. Dale Earnhardt leads in car number 3, and the pole sitter Davey Allison is running in second spot. There's the interval between them. And again, if Davey Allison can win this race this afternoon, he'll finally win that Unicount Challenge money, which is up to $159,600. Only one driver has won a race from the pole position this year. That was way back in the early spring with Rusty Wallace. At this time last year, there had been 2 drivers win a race from the pole position. And let's go back down to Jerry Punch with more on Darrell Waltrip.
Well, gentlemen, the problem with Darrell Waltrip may be a little more serious than we had originally believed. The car was loose. They came in and changed the spring. Let's check in with Jeff Hammond. Jeff, the spring change doesn't seem to have remedied the problem. What's wrong?
Gary, it's kind of hard to say. We started off, the car felt pretty good, and all of a sudden he called in. He said, this thing's getting looser and looser. It's jerking around. We thought for a minute we had tires tore up. Our equalized tire, we came in, changed all 4 tires, put a little wedge in the car, and went back out. And it just never got any better. So he said, well, maybe we need to change the spring and see if that'll help it. So the last caution to change the spring. Now we're beginning to believe maybe we got something in the rear gear that's going messing up. Kind of a ratcheting, unratcheting effect, because when it goes off in the corner, he said just kind of jumps sideways. When he tries to pick the throttle up and jumping sideways. And it sounds like we may have a gear problem right now.
Could be a serious problem for the Tide crew. It'll be a long afternoon for Darrell Waltrip here at Dover, Illinois.
All right, so Darrell Waltrip continues to struggle with that Tide machine. Car number 17, we're looking out the back glass of Kyle Petty's car at Darrell. And immediately behind now is Lake Speed, the Bullseye Barbecue Sauce. Banking at 24 degrees, 9 degrees on the straightaways that Kyle is on right now.
Bob, the sun has been coming in and out here. Clouds going over the sun, and then it'll get dark again, and that has a great deal to do with the handling characteristics of an automobile. So I'm sure that these teams are watching that, but they don't know what to set up for, whether to set up for the sun or the clouds, because there are more clouds than there is blue sky.
Now Davey Allison, has caught Dale Earnhardt, and we may have a change of leadership here before long.
Earnhardt's car is just not right. I can't really put my finger on what the problem is, but he seems like he'll run a lap perfectly. And the next lap, Davey Allison just closes up on him.
Again, yesterday in the late practice, Davey Allison had at least a quarter of a second over everybody else, sometimes a half a second faster than anybody else in practice, and he's showing today that he's still got a lot of strength in that Havoline Ford.
So Earnhardt is first, and then Allison, but look at Rusty Wallace as he has his hands full here trying to move up through the traffic once again. He is currently in 11th position. Right there ahead of him is Neil Bonnet in car number 21. And he'll move to the inside now of Neil as they go into turn number 3. And Rusty will pick up the 11th position. The leaders, meanwhile, are encountering some traffic as Davey Allison tries to catch Dale Earnhardt.
Earnhardt smokes the tires, which is not unusual here at Dover as they move around J.D. McDuffie one more time. Davey running a good line around the racetrack. Now watching when he goes into the turn. He backs off a little bit earlier than Earnhardt, but then he's able to get back on the gas a little earlier too, which shoots him up off of the corner pretty well, but Earnhardt got off the corner good that time too.
It looks like when Earnhardt's able to run on the bottom of the racetrack, he is as fast as Davey Allison. But when he moves up the racetrack because of traffic or some reason, it looks like his car just goes all to pieces.
Well, it's not unusual here at Dover to see cars running. Usually we see them running low in the early part of the race, but as time goes by, they'll move up higher and higher on the racetrack.
Live coverage of the Peak Performance 500 will show you the top 10 and be right back with more from Dover Downs International Speedway. 6 through 10, Rick Wilson, Jeff Bodine, Brett Bodine, Michael Waltrip, and Derek Cope. There is Dale Earnhardt leading, but by just about a car length and a half over Davey Allison. And Allison has moved up to make a bid on Earnhardt a couple of times in the recent laps, but he's not been able to grab the lead away as he uses the low line and Earnhardt uses the high line coming out of 4. Rusty Wallace continues to have problem. This is just a few minutes ago with Mark Martin, and Mark just drives right around him.
Yeah, I've been watching Rusty Wallace. I know Derek Cope in the Pure Later Pontiac drove by a few laps ago, drove away from him. So Rusty's car certainly isn't perfect, but knowing Barry Dodson, those guys, it can be by the time the race is over.
Yeah, we have a report from Jerry Punch in the pits that the car number 27 is loose, just not sticking in the turns the way he would like for it to, and you can bet your bottom dollar, Denny, you're right, that they will make an adjustment when they get an opportunity.
Rusty Wallace is 12th. Meanwhile, the guy that he is trying to catch in the battle for the Winston Cup is leading the race. Number 3, Dale Earnhardt. The number 4 car driven by Rick Wilson. Rick is doing a great job given the fact that he has a broken foot. He's running in 5th position at the moment.
Yeah, he passed Kenny Schrader just a couple of laps ago. All 4 tires were smoking. He went right on by.
Let's go down to the Rick Wilson pit. Jerry's there with the report.
We're standing by with Tony Glover, the crew chief here for Rick Wilson. And Tony, the driver's doing one whale of a job. How's he feeling out there?
Well, right now I'm not talking to him about how he's feeling. We're talking about how the race car's doing, and I'm sure as long as the Kodak Film Oldsmobile's running up near the front, it'll be a while before he gets out. But when he does, we got Tommy Ellis standing by, and he'll do a good job for us.
Well, he's now running in 5th spot. Hey, the joke here in the pits among some of the Kodak crew, they were kidding Rick Wilson on the radio during the caution. It's like, hey, we know you're going to drive like this. You'd have broken your feet a long time ago. He laughed back and said, hey, we're having a good run. By the way, Tommy Ellis is standing by if Rick needs him, and I think it's a long afternoon here. For somebody with that kind of pain, he's trying to endure right now. Gentlemen?
Well, obviously, Rick is going to try to hang on just as long as he can, but come around, 300 laps or so, I imagine those feet are going to be hurting pretty good.
Yeah, maybe they're talking like they should have dropped the jack on 3 or 4 races ago. And watch, look, Earnhardt has put a little distance on Davey Allison. He's now probably 15 car lengths, so either Earnhardt has found a groove that works for his Goodrich Chevrolet, or Davey's having a little bit of problem.
Earnhardt's still sticking right down on the inside when he's not in traffic, and his car is working well down in that position. See him going into turn 3. Sticks down, then slides up a little bit as he accelerates off of the turn. Let's go to pits and Jack Arute, who has a comment on Davey Allison.
And after checking with many of the front runners, we finally discovered a car that's tight. Davey Allison is reporting that in the middle of the corners, they have finally tightened the car up to where it's just a tad too tight to his liking. So now they're going to have to either hope the track lightens up, creases up a little bit, or they may have to take a little bit of wedge out during the next pit stop.
So while one driver is experiencing loose race car, another driver is experiencing a tight race car. And it all is coming together in Winston Cup racing at Dover Downs International Speedway. We'll be back right after this. NASCAR racing, Winston Cup at Dover Downs, Delaware. The Peak Performance 500 live for you here on ESPN. And here are the top 5 at the end of 112 laps. It's Dale Earnhardt, Davey Allison, Dick Trickle, Bill Elliott, and Rick Wilson. Here's the second 5. Ken Schrader, Jeff Bodine, Brett Bodine, Derek Cope, and Michael Waltrip. The leader is Dale Earnhardt, and he has indeed stretched out the advantage on Davey Allison quite a bit in the last few laps. However, one of the guys really on the move at the moment is Brett Bodine in car number 15. He has moved himself into 8th position and making a great run with that Motorcraft Ford. He started 22nd, moved to 17th at the end of 50 laps. He was 9th at the end of 75 and now is in 8th.
And gaining on his brother Jeff Bodine, who is running just ahead of him in the Levi Garrett Chevrolet car number 5.
And the car behind Brett Bodine, Derek Cope, the red and white Purelator Pontiac, as I mentioned a moment ago, he's having a pretty good run today as well.
Yes, he is. He's having a very good run. In fact, he's still in the lead lap and just passed Michael Waltrip not long ago and has picked up on the car number 15 of Brett Bodine. And for more on that story, let's go to the pits and Jerry Punch.
Well, Ned, no surprise that Brett Bodine running so well in that Motorcraft Ford. This is the car that Ricky Rudd won 2 of the last 3 peak 500s here in the fall at Dover, Delaware. It's also the best race car that Bud Moore Engineering has in their shop. It's the car they set on the outside front row earlier in the year at Darlington, South Carolina with, and the car that had their best finish of the year, 5th at Michigan back early in the summer. So a good race car, and they're running awfully well here at Dover.
Brett Bodine currently 21st in the Winston Cup points for 1989. Now here's Derek Cope moving to the outside and making a bid for that position held by Brett Bodine. So Cope giving that car a nice run.
He is running very, very good.
We go inside Michael Waltrip's car. There you can see Mark Martin just ahead. And Brett Bodine and Derek Cope just ahead of Mark.
Michael Waltrip currently running in the 9th position.
Michael Waltrip won the Peak 200 wins, or rather a Busch Grand National race here at Dover last year, which happened to fall on September 17th. It was the birthday of his niece, Jessica. So it is Jessica, Darrell Waltrip's daughter's 2nd birthday today. Happy birthday. And a couple of birthdays coming up tomorrow. Jeannie Metcalf, we say happy birthday to you, and Stephen Martin. Now, it is Mark Martin who is sneaking up on Brett Bodine. Let's go to Jack Arute, who's with Bud Moore, the owner of the 15 car.
And Bud, your car is running very, very well. You got a secret to this place? You always seem to perform well here. You got 2 with Ricky Rudd a couple of years ago.
Well, as you know, the car's running right well right now. The Motorcraft Ford's running about as good as we can. The car's pushing a little bit right now, but the racetrack keeps changing, so it'll be later on in the race before you really get the car adjusted like you're supposed to. You know, this track's changing about every 100 laps.
Well, there's a second car that we've seen today that reports that it's a little bit tight, pushing in the corner.
Now, guys, you both have driven race cars, and Benny, you've driven on this racetrack. How frustrating it must be to not be able to get that set up just the way you need to run fast.
Terribly frustrating thing, especially you can move around. The best thing about this racetrack is so wide you can move around and try different lines, and that will accommodate a better make the car handle better. But when you got somebody like Earnhardt that never changes his line and just drives around on the bottom of the racetrack and laps you about every 50 laps, it's totally frustrating.
Speaking of lines, we'll watch them move through the corners. Now watch this whole group of cars here. That's Bodine. There's Michael Waltrip as he is handling his Country Time Lemonade. Now watch his hand movement through the corner. It looks like it's an easy chore for him.
Yeah, it does look easy there, doesn't it? That car is working good because he's running up in the top 10.
Now we'll switch from Michael Waltrip to Kyle Petty and see how things are going for him. Using the tongue there quite a bit.
I don't think that car is working quite as well as Michael Waltrip's. He's not running quite as fast for one thing. Now he's giving a signal to somebody behind him. No, he's adjusting his mirror, his rear view mirror.
That's right. It looks like that the Kyle Petty car is pushing. You see how he's turning the car hard left to get the car to go around the corner? It looks like he's putting too much effort into getting the car to go around the corner. Therefore, we'd say the car is pushing.
Much different than the way Michael Waltrip is handling his car. And speaking of Michael, he nearly pulls alongside now Brett Bodine, but has to get off the accelerator to encounter the number 99 car of Norm Benning. Let's go to Jack Arute, who has more on car setup here at Dover.
Well, this week, the weather has changed dramatically from practice yesterday and today. And what that causes is all the teams have to bring out all of these tires. Not that they're going to wear out, but in order to find the right stagger, the right combination. Now, you see this crew man in front of me? What he's doing is checking and rechecking the stagger, the circumference of each tire, then matching them up, hopefully finding the right set. Now, you do this during practice and during the course of most races, but when the set of the racetrack changes, we watch Darrell Waltrip get by Mike Waltrip get by Fred Bodine. When you make the change like that, these tire guys back here have their work cut out for them throughout the day because they're searching for the right setup, the right stagger to put out on the line for the change during a caution because you're chasing the racetrack. That's what they call it.
So it's just a roll of the dice in some cases, trying to find that combination that makes your car handle the way you want it to race. And here is the number 11 car of Terry Labonte in for a pit stop.
And he was already one lap down. He got lapped early in the race before the first caution and was not doing too well during this run. They're going to change all 4 tires on the Budweiser Ford. See if they can get it going a little better.
And Lake Speed is also making a pit stop, and he is coming into the pits very slowly. So this is going to be something more than just a routine pit stop.
In fact, he went on past his pits. He was pitting right close to where Terry Labonte was. Evidently, he's headed to the garage area.
Well, things are not well with the Bullseye barbecue sauce car, and indeed, Lake Speed makes the left-hand turn and takes the car into the garage area. Our leader is just ahead of Kyle Petty. We're riding with Kyle, and the leader is the GM Goodrich number 3 car driven by Dale Earnhardt as we're 127 laps into 500 here at Dover. 100 laps completed. It's Dale Earnhardt leading the Peak Performance 500 Winston Cup race here at Dover. Davey Allison is second, Dick Trickle third, Bill Elliott fourth, and Rick Wilson is fifth. I mentioned a while ago how we move to short tracks for the next 2 races next week at 12:30 Eastern Time live next Sunday afternoon. We'll be at Martinsville, Virginia, and the beautiful half mile there for the Goodies 500. And then after that, we'll move to North Wilkesboro. So the next 2 consecutive races on the really short tracks where we'll see a lot of action, especially next Sunday at Martinsville. There is Rick Wilson in car number 4, who's having a great run. He's in 5th position at the moment.
It's amazing he's able to go as well as, and look, that was Bill Elliott, the red and white car that we saw. There's Tommy Ellis, who's standing by for Rick Wilson in case he does need him, and I think Jack Arute is down with Tommy Ellis.
Right now, this man is the loneliest driver in town. Tommy, how frustrating is it to just sit here? How frustrating is it to just sit here and wait in relief and maybe not even get in the car today?
Well, the car's running real good. I'm sure Rick's driving it with a lot of pain, but it's a lot easier when the car's running good. So, I'm ready if they need me, but I understand the situation. And I know it's awfully hard to get out of a car that's running good, and the Kodak Oldsmobile is running good today.
One driver whose car is not running good. It's in the garage area, and he's with Jerry Punch. Jerry?
Well, he's sitting in the car, Jack. It's Lake Speed, the Bullseye Barbecue Oldsmobile, and you can hear in the background the car is not hitting on all cylinders. They're trying to stop the problem. Turning the motor up here to see what the problem exactly is. The car is missing violently. They're trying to decipher what the problem possibly is. Lake, what's the problem with the car?
I think we may have a bad carburetor that caused us to burn a piston here, because we had the same thing happen yesterday afternoon, the last practice day. We put a new fresh engine in the Bullseye Barbecue Sauce Wings Oldsmobile. We're ready to go racing today, but from the get-go, it just never did really run good. It acts like it's burned a piston again.
If there is a black cloud that follows the driver, it has to be over Lake Speed this year. He has had the toughest luck of all here in the garage area. Hopefully his luck will change in the near future, but right now, a lot of smoke from beneath the car, and he sits here in the garage area.
All right, we'll keep an eye on Lake Speed to see whether or not he can get back in competition.
Well, Jerry, there's another car that has a problem, and that is Jeff Bodine. He's still out on the track running, but he has slowed. He looks like maybe he's running on 7 cylinders. The car is just not running down the straightaway as fast as it did earlier. We'll keep our eyes on that. Meanwhile, there's a good battle for the 4th and 5th position as Rick Wilson is about to catch Bill Elliott.
There we see the 5 car, Rusty Wallace and Ricky Rudd behind him. And that is for about 12th spot. Rusty Wallace not having a good day at all, is he, Bob?
Boy, he sure isn't. He has been struggling since the green flag drop with that 27 car. And there is the battle that you referred to, the number 9 car of Bill Elliott and the 4 car of Rick Wilson as they go for 4th position. Elliott has it at the moment. That's Sterling Marlin there to the outside that Bill goes inside of in turn number 1. And here comes Rick Wilson in pursuit of Bill Elliott.
Wilson is just relentless this afternoon. He is really making a charge to the front.
Boy, after that horrendous crash last weekend that we showed you a few minutes ago, you would hardly think that he would feel like doing what he's doing. Here's the 10 car and the 6 also battling, and this is for 7th position. And you got to take your hat off to Derry Cope, who's having a good run.
Mark Martin has run him down. He's been trying to get by for the last 10 laps, but not able to.
The number 75 car is in front of Mark Martin and Derry Cope, but the 75 car is not on the lead lap.
Looks like our camera did Mark Martin some good because he's been trying for 10 laps to get by Derry Cope. We put the camera on him and Mark got by.
Mark Martin and the Jack Roush crew still trying to win their first Winston Cup race. They've come close so many times.
Jack Roush the other day, the owner of this 6 car is driven by Mark Martin, and he told me that he had some testing going on, that this race, they've forgotten about the championship. They feel like it's gone, so now is the time to get ready for 1990. When I say testing, they're going to be doing some experiment. There's Dale Jarrett with an unscheduled pit stop, Ned.
Yeah, the Hardee's Pontiac coming in. Dale's been running pretty good out there and came in for a change of right side tires. We'll see others coming in before too long, though, I think.
You know, this is quite a contrast because when there's a yellow flag that comes out, this pit road is really busy with cars everywhere. But when you come in for an unscheduled stop all by yourself, it's kind of a lonely place.
It is, especially when you're losing so much valuable time.
Dale Earnhardt just continues to dominate this race. Oh, some contact there between Phil Parsons and Jimmy Spencer as they came off of corner number 4, getting Spencer a little bit loose. But there is Dale Earnhardt. By the way, Earnhardt has now lapped both the 55 of Parsons and the 88 of Spencer, and so there are now 14 cars that are on the lead lap, and the next to be lapped will be this car, Jeff Bodine in car number 5. So 14 cars on the lead lap. We will show you the top 10 once again as we take another break in our live coverage of the Peak Performance 500 here at Dover Downs International Speedway. Is to lead this Winston Cup race here at Dover. Davey Allison second, Dick Trickle, Rick Wilson, and Bill Elliott. Jerry Punch reports on a pit stop by Ricky Rudd.
The first of what should be scheduled pit stops coming up from ready to lead cars. Ricky Rudd, Quaker State Buick getting right side tires. First can of fuel already in. Larry McReynolds and the crew, a great stop. They have changed right side tires, waiting on the gas. Now the car down at the jack. He is down and away. Good pit stop for Ricky Rudd's crew.
He was running in 13th position when he came in, and I think this would have to be considered the early regular stops now because we're going to see most of the guys coming in within the next 10 laps or so for their second scheduled series of pit stops. And Rudd having a little bit of trouble getting up to speed, isn't he?
Well, no, that white line that we saw him staying underneath going down between 1 and 2, when they leave the pits, the cars have to stay below that white line. Otherwise, it's a penalty from NASCAR.
Here's Dick Trickle in car number 84, who runs third behind Dale Earnhardt and Davey Allison. But look, he's in his rearview mirror. He sees Rick Wilson, who is
out of gas. Down. Evidently, he's out of gas.
Well, word is that he may have wanted to pit that time and didn't, and he may have taken it just a little bit too far. He is definitely slow down the backstretch. Jackaroo, what might be the problem?
Bob, you hit the nail right on the head. Tony Glover and the crew had radioed in. They told him to pit. He didn't get the information in time to duck onto pit road, and now the car has run out of fuel. They've called for the ether so that they can restart the car, but this is a very, very costly miscue for the Kodak Film Oldsmobile. Rick Wilson brings the car limping slowly down this long pit road area. The crew is poised, ready to go. They've got both tanks of fuel ready to go into the car. He comes to a stop, hits the jack, hits the brake. They clean the windshield. They're going to change right side tires. They have a small carburetor fire after firing the engine with the starting fluid. They try and put it out, and Rusty Wallace is on his way onto pit road as well, as we're beginning to see normally scheduled pit stops. Wallace comes to the end of his pit. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
The Kodiak crew going to work on the right side of Rusty Wallace's car. Jimmy May car, Barry Dodson, John Dodson, right side tires, right rear tire for John Dodson. A major chassis adjustment there in the right rear of the car. Rusty Wallace down to the way. Great pit stop for the Kodiak crew and a major chassis adjustment.
So Rusty moves back onto the racetrack. Jack, because of this running out of fuel situation, would it be possible that Tommy Ellis would get into that car since Rick lost a lap and now is not up in the top 5?
Well, Bob, that might come later. In the enthusiasm and the emotion of the moment, Rick Wilson stayed in the car. What they've elected to do is they tried to get him back out there as quick as they could. We'll check, though, and see if once things calm down there, if they'll make the change. Dale Earnhardt's on pit road. Jerry?
The leader brings the Goodrich Chevrolet down pit road. The dominating car here back in the spring, the black Lumina. And Kurt Shelverdine, David Smith, Will Lynn, and the crew go to work. Right side tires on, feeding the wind chill. Second can of fuel in by Danny Tucker Myers. They will come around and change left side tires. They will opt to change all 4 tires on the lead car. The car running so well, they will take no chances. Watching now, the can of fuel going in. The car down and away, 21.8 seconds. I mean, an outstanding pit stop for 4 tires. Gentlemen,
those guys know how to do it. No question about that. 4 tires, but he goes a lap down.
Yes, Davey Allison goes off of turn 2. Earnhardt just coming out of the pit there. You can see Davey Allison passing Richard Petty's STP Pontiac, but Earnhardt getting up to speed. But Davey Allison will have a pit stop coming up here very shortly.
Here's Bill Elliott, who was also in the top 5 as he is getting service from that crew on pit road. Jerry Punch, are you in a position to see this?
We are watching the Elliott pit stop. The Motorcraft Course Ford now getting right side tires. Good stop for that crew. He is down and away. Right side tires. We're seeing stop. Likewise, just exiting by me. You hear the noise. That is the Mark Martin car. As Dick Trinkle is also in further up pit road. Let's go up to Jackaroo.
Trinkle's team has gone to work. Jimmy Fleming led through as Alan Kowicki goes by, and they're going to make a stop on Alan as well. Taking a look, Trinkle has completed his work on the right side. They're trying to get as much fuel as they can, and Trinkle is away. In the meantime, Alan Kowicki continues his pit stop. They've changed right side tires. They fill the tank with fuel, and he's off and away.
This time without a ratchet hanging out the back of that car. Alan Kowicki pulls away, and Davey Allison appears to be, nope, he's not coming in this time, but Dale Earnhardt passed him anyway.
Earnhardt got back in the lead lap, and the longer Davey stays out there and runs, and Earnhardt runs on 4 fresh tires, the more he's going to be ahead when Davey does make his pit stop.
One would think that Allison would be coming in very shortly. First of all, not taking a chance of running out of fuel. And secondly, getting some fresh tires on that car. Let's see if it happens now. Yes, here comes Davey Allison in for the stop. The crew is ready for him. Jackaroot will call this one by Davey Allison.
Robert Yates, the owner, is on the jack. Tony Price getting ready. The rest of the crew ready to service Davey Allison. Allison comes to the halt in the Texaco Havoline pit. Maybe that he's using System 3 gasoline today because he's getting excellent fuel mileage. They're changing the right side tires. They're making a jack adjustment. They're changing the wedge on the car, trying to loosen it up just a bit. They've completed their work. They've exchanged right sides. In 14.3 seconds, Allison's away.
And so most of those running in the top 10 have made their second scheduled series of pit stops. Davey Allison among them, moving back out onto the track, keeping that car below the white line before he gets into the backstretch, and our lead now goes to the number 10 car driven by Derek Cope. However, he has not made a pit stop yet. He will probably be doing so here in just a moment. And we will be back with more coverage from Dover Downs International Speedway right after these messages as Cope pits for the Peak Performance 500 Winston Cup race. And the leader is Dale Earnhardt in car number 3. He came in and changed all 4 tires on the car and maintained the lead. Jerry Punch down in the Childress pit.
That was very impressive. 21.8 seconds with 4 tire changes. Let's talk with Richard Childress, the car owner here. Richard, is a very, very impressive pit stop and possibly a smart move on your part to come in and change 4 tires.
Well, if the track stays green, it'll be a good, decision because we feel the car will stay a lot more consistent on 4 than it was 2. We had a good lead at the time, so we didn't want to take a chance.
A lot of drivers are complaining here about the stagger going away. They put 4 tires on, they keep the stagger consistent here with the cars. What they want to do, stay consistent here all afternoon. That's what they've done in the past and taking the car to victory lane. Bob?
One reason that Dale Earnhardt made a 4-tire change is the Winston Cup. $1 million because he can't afford, he is the leader. He can't afford to stay out there on maybe worn tires. He needs to change 4 each and every time that he can. The fact that he was the leader just made it that much of an easier decision.
But the fact that you've got a crew that can perform that way, change 4 tires in about 21 seconds. There was a number of those drivers that made 2 tire changes and were in the pits for about 20 seconds.
But look, he did all that, and he's still leading the race. So I tell you what, Earnhardt, Richard Childress, that crew, my hat's off to him.
Yeah, and actually he's pulling away. He's almost a half a lap ahead of Davey Allison. Earnhardt goes across the start-finish line right now. We'll put our unofficial stopwatch on now. Davey Allison comes off the turn 4 at the moment. And we'll see it's 8 7/10 seconds right now, the lead that he has.
So Dale Earnhardt, who dominated the race earlier this year here at Dover, recording his first win at this racetrack, is doing it again. He is just far superior than anybody else at this point in the race, and it seems it has been all race long. Record for the most cautions here at Dover, 14, and we have only had 1 caution period so far today. That was for an accident up in turn number 4 involving Ernie Irvin. No injury, wasn't a serious accident at all. Aside from that, we have been all green. In the number 4 car of Rick Wilson, there was a driver change in this car. Jack Arute, what's the situation down there?
All right, Bob, when they couldn't get the car refired, it rekindled for a moment. They pushed it to the end of pit road, and it really refused to start. So they pushed it into the garage area. They made the change of drivers once they got the car refired. So now it is actually an exchange of drivers between Tommy Ellis in the car, and Rick Wilson is out. Let's get down to Jerry Clark. He's down at Mark Martin's pit.
Well, Jack, possibly a problem brewing with the Mark Martin car. When they came in a minute ago, they only changed right side tires. And apparently, Mark is radioed in and said they may have a left side tire going down. Robin Pemberton, Steve Mill, and the crew are sitting here waiting and watching, hoping maybe they could get a caution flag before the tire goes completely flat. If it were to go flat, it'd be an afternoon to be over for Mark Martin here at this racetrack. This track will reach out and bite you to hurry. They're right now got their fingers crossed, hoping they can just laugh.
Mark Martin currently running in 6th position in that number 6 car. Meanwhile, Tommy Ellis now in the 4 cars, 3 laps down. And speaking of 3, there is the number 3 car driven by Dale Earnhardt, who is the leader at the end of 175 laps.
He's coming up on Brett Bodine. They're about to put a lap on Brett. And Brett, you know, we watched him there a little while ago, was running very good, but now Earnhardt's running him down.
Earnhardt's making this look so easy, man. He's just driving around the racetrack. He goes high, he goes low, and he just catches those guys and goes by them. And people watching this going to say, well, this is a piece of cake. But you notice the other 39 guys are not doing it, folks.
That's right, so it's not a piece of cake.
Earnhardt crosses the mark. We'll see the interval now between 1st and 2nd position. Here comes Davey Allison off of corner number 4. It is that much of an advantage for Dale Earnhardt. That is a lot.
Here it is, and Earnhardt is pulling away.
Earnhardt 3 times a winner this year in Winston Cup competition at North Wilkesboro, here at Dover, and of course at Darlington just a couple of weeks ago. Sellout crowd here at Dover Downs International Speedway. We'll be right back. Trackbacks are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
This seat from Kyle Petty's race car looks more like something from a spaceship. It's been tailor-made to fit his body. The shape of his ribs, everything has been measured, probably more closely than a groom would be measured for a tuxedo at a wedding. Has rib supports on both sides to protect his ribs from any side impact, leg supports to protect his legs from any side movement. If you look at it from the side or the back, you can see it's made out of heavy aluminum, double and triple layers in the areas of high stress. The padding comes away like this, and you can see that it has extra padding around the rib cage area, especially on the right side and the back, where the drivers are known to be thrust against the side of the seat in the bank turns. All of this has been done, and it's evolved over the years in the interest of safety, but also it's a lot more comfortable for the drivers.
And you certainly got to have a comfortable seat to drive 500 laps here at Dover. And this is the live shot now of Kyle Petty as he sits in that seat and performs in the Peak Performance 500.
They used to charge me about $75 extra for all the aluminum they used on my seats.
I'm glad you said that. I didn't. We're watching a battle for 8th position here. Michael Waltrip in car number 30 having a good run. He's gone from 16th to 8th. Unfortunately, it's not such a good deal for Rusty Wallace. He has fallen from 4th back to 9th. And we're watching now out the back glass of Michael's car back on Rusty Wallace. Rusty has to be very disappointed with the way things have gone so far in this race. His battle with Dale Earnhardt for the Winston Cup is certainly taking a sour note as far as he's concerned, because Dale is leading this race. Jerry Punch is with Barry Dotson, the crew chief on Rusty's car.
Well, they got to be very disappointed on the way the car's performing. Let's just check in with Barry Dotson as Rusty goes by and talk to him. Barry, you got to be a little bit disappointed in how the car's performing so far. What's really the problem?
It was loose to start with, Jerry. The sun was out. We tightened it up. Stayed tight for a while. Now it's loose again. We just need time to work on it. We've only had one caution flag.
There's one crew that's hoping to get a yellow flag, get a chance to come in and make some adjustments on the car, possibly some major adjustments. Let's check in on another driver's situation up in the Davey Allison pit where Jack Arute is standing by.
And Jerry, I'm with Robert Yates, and Robert, you just got some bad news from your driver.
Yeah, he says it's lost power. It's like it's lost one cylinder. Real steady, like lost the one cylinder. So perhaps they'll be able to fix it with a caution.
The problem, though, gentlemen, is there's $158,000+ riding on that car, running on 8 cylinders and finishing in front here today.
Well, keep an eye on Davey Allison, but it appears as if he may be dropping back just a little bit. And as you indicated, $159,600 at stake for Davey Allison if he can win this race after starting from the pole.
Kenny Schrader currently running in 3rd, Bob, and he's not too far behind him, about 2 seconds, and he is really gaining on Davey Allison. Davey pulled up amongst a bunch of cars that included Phil Parsons, you can see right in front of him, and Morgan Shepherd is right behind him, and he just simply hasn't been able to do anything with those. Now, Richard Petty a few laps ago came up and passed Davey Allison, Phil Parsons, and all of them, and drove on by.
Well, Dale Earnhardt now has 9 other cars besides himself on the lead lap. There are 10 currently on the lead lap, and the number 10 car is the next to be lapped. There is the 20, make that the 27 car will be the next to be lapped.
Yeah, because the 10 car of Derek Cope just went a lap down not too long ago. You can see Earnhardt there coming up on Rusty Wallace. There's Michael Waltrip. We're looking out the rear window of Michael onto Rusty Wallace as they go into turn 3.
You can see there's Dale Earnhardt looming in the background.
Normally when Rusty Wallace would look back and see Dale Earnhardt that far behind him, he would be breathing a sigh of relief, but not today.
Not today for sure.
Because he knows in just 3 or 4 laps, Earnhardt has the potential to be on his rear bumper.
Michael Waltrip in number 30 running 8th. Rusty Wallace in 27 running 9th. Davey Allison in car number 28 may have an engine problem. He is still maintaining that 2nd position, but Ken Schrader is closing in on him. We'll watch for Schrader's red car. There it is right there, and that's how close Ken Schrader is to taking over 2nd position. Schrader's serial from 3rd to 5th to 6th and to 3rd. So it's been a pretty consistent day for Ken Schrader, never falling lower than 6th position.
Yeah, he's had a good, consistent run here today. Made a good pit stop. And after he came out of the pits, he just steadily has gained on Davey Allison.
And Davey trying to struggle and hold on to that 2nd place. There is Davey moving into turn number 1. Jack Arute has a comment.
Well, Davey Allison just radioed in that the engine had righted itself. He said it sounds like it might have cleared up. Well, that could be an indication that instead of it being a cylinder problem, then maybe they have some sort of a carburation problem. Robert Yates is radioing back and forth right now, and we'll give you more information as it becomes available. But it looks to me now as if he's begun to slow down considerably, so it could be a terminal problem for Davey.
No question that Ken Schrader is catching him. Here is Dale Earnhardt following a whole group of cars. Look at Michael Waltrip go way high. Rusty Wallace had to go to the bottom of the racetrack, and because of that, he lost a lap.
Earnhardt goes by on the outside. The 57 Hut Strickland was out of Michael Waltrip's way. Rusty was trying to get underneath him, and it didn't work.
So Rusty Wallace is now a lap down to Dale Earnhardt as he leads the race, and Earnhardt now seeks to put a lap on the 30 car driven by Michael Waltrip. We'll be back with more right after this. It's resulted in our second caution flag of the afternoon. The flag just came out. The cars have not come around yet, but when they do, they will be making their pit stops. There's Harold Kinder displaying the yellow flag on lap number 199. Watch for a lot of pit action here in the next few moments.
That was a tough break for Rusty Wallace in the 27 Kodiak Pontiac, and you can bet when this green flag drops, he's going to be trying to get that lap back.
Here comes the leaders into the pit. Jerry Punch will report from pit road.
Dale Earnhardt brings the Goodrich Chevrolet to a halt. The crew now cleaning the windshield. We'll go to the right side of the car and add right side tires. One can of fuel already going in, the second can of fuel going in. Let's go up and check on Davey Allison's pit with Jack Arute.
Well, Jerry, they're going to make the customary changes on Davey Allison's car. That of right side tires. Robert Yates chases an errant tire. Dale Earnhardt is up on top of your screen. Now he's away as Robert Yates and the crew decide they're going to change all 4 tires with the luxury of this caution. So far, they have not elected to make any changes on the problem that they've got on board the car. They think it may be an electrical problem. Alan Kowicki's hood is up on his car as well, and as he has a problem. They're going to change the coil inside the car, see if that will affect cure the problem that Davey Allison is having. He refires the engine, he's off and away. They're ready to change the distributor and the spark plug wires if need be. The distributor head, that is. Let's go.
Dick Trickle also exits the pits, as does the number 7 car driven by Alan Kowicki after a very lengthy pit stop by Alan.
There might be a little bit of front end damage to Dick Trickle. I don't think it'll be anything that'll hurt. He hit Dale Jarrett as Jarrett was trying to get into his pits a little further up pit road and knocked Jarrett sideways, but he got his...
There we can see the damage to the left rear of Dick Trickle. He might have to come back in to have that repaired.
Dick Trickle, who was running 3rd at one point, actually was the leader of this race at one point, but the leader at the moment is Dale Earnhardt. And during this caution period, we'll take another break and be right back. Back to our live coverage of the Peak Performance 500 Winston Cup race. We're at Dover Downs International Speedway in Delaware. Our Speed World coverage is being brought to you by the First Name and Filters Purolator, exceptional protection for exceptional vehicles like yours. By Brander's Jeans by Dickies, they're priced to fit America. And by the Robert Bosch Corporation, makers of Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug. We have just gone green after our yellow caution period because of debris on the racetrack, and the lead continues to be held by Dale Earnhardt. Bill Elliott is 2nd, Ken Schrader is 3rd, Mark Martin is 4th, and Dick Trickle in car number 84 is running in 5th position. Jack Arute can explain what happened to Dick during that pit stop.
Well, Bob, actually what happened to Dick Trickle is before he got to his pits, as Ned Jarrett alluded to, he got into a tangle with Dale Jarrett. Now what that's done to the front of his car is it's peeled away a portion of the left front down by the bumper. It's actually peeled it up the way you would a sardine can. Now it's running air down through the car. It's okay so far, but if the wind here at the Monster Mile begins to peel it away too far, they'll have to bring him on the pit road to effect repairs. Jimmy Fenning had hoped to bring him in during that last caution period, but they cleaned up the track too quick. They couldn't get the duct tape control fast enough to bring him back out on the pit road.
Well, it doesn't appear to be affecting the running of the car as yet, but you can see it on the left side of the car. But he is staying right with Mark Martin, who is in 4th position, and moving down alongside Brett Bodine at number 15. He's a lap down in 11th.
Trickle moves by Brett Bodine with ease, pulls up on the back bumper of the Mark Martin Stroh's Light T-Bird. Dick Trickle is having one heck of a run this afternoon.
Yeah, that car has been very, very strong from the time they unloaded it Friday.
Meanwhile, back up front, it is still Dale Earnhardt showing the way. In June here, Dale led 455 of the 500 laps in the total domination of the event, and he could be on his way to doing so again. There is second place Bill Elliott in car number 9, and the 25 car is in third position. That, of course, driven by Ken Schrader.
There's a leader, Dale Earnhardt. There's a second car in line. Michael Waltrip a lap down. Ricky Rudd's a lap down. There's Rusty Wallace. He's about 6th or 7th in line. He's also a lap down.
He's in 12th position, 1 lap down. Not having a very good day for the Kodiak Pontiac team. Back of him, the number 88 car of Jimmy Spencer. And the 6th car is the 4th place machine of Mark Martin. Number 88 not on the lead lap with Jimmy Spencer. Behind him is the 84 car running 5th. That's Dick Trickle behind the wheel, the short track ASA champion. 15 car driven by Brett Bodine is shown in 11th place, 1 lap down. The 55, of course, is Phil Parsons, who had a good run in the Busch Grand National race here yesterday. It was won by Ken Schrader.
He's just 1 lap down, 55 is.
The 5 car, Jeff Bodine.
He's a lap down, too.
He's a lap down. He comes off. Jim Sauter in the 44 car, Bob Puglia's automobile behind Jeff Bodine.
Sauter's running good now, but he's 3 laps behind. In the early part of the race, he was having some problems, but he's really been running good for the last 100 miles.
And behind Sauter, we saw just a glimpse of, nope, he went away. Bobby Hillen in the Miller High Life Buick, a team car to Dick Trickle was behind Sauter a moment ago. We'll get to him in a second.
Here's a whole group of cars, including Richard Petty and Rick Wilson and Terry Labonte. Rick Wilson not behind the wheel of that car anymore. Tommy Ellis has gone into the relief role. And there is Tommy now moving to the inside of Terry Labonte down the backstretch.
He's beginning to get the feel of that Oldsmobile as they come up on Richard Petty. Morgan Shepherd, car number 75, right behind him.
The 11 car is 18th, 2 laps down. Going back to Dale Jarrett in car number 28. And Dale's plans for next year remain somewhat up in the air, right, Ned?
Yep, somewhat up in the air. They're looking for sponsorship for the Cale Yarborough Motorsports team. And Dale is 1 lap down. There's Darrell Waltrip. He's 3 laps down.
That number 22 car there is Rob Moroso. Ooh, boy, he had to get on the brakes to avoid hitting the back of that number 92 machine that's being driven by Jack Healy. And there's the 28 car.
Now, he's the last car on the lead lap, I believe, or let's see, he's definitely not running too good. No, Alan Kowicki is behind Davey. Alan's running even slower than Davey Allison is. And let's go to the pits for more on that from Jackaroo.
Well, Ned, this time it's not an engine problem on Davey Allison. He radioed in that they have resolved that situation, but now he thinks that he has a rear tire going down. The car is very, very loose in the corners, and they've asked a couple of the drivers that have gone by him by radio to check and see if maybe a tire is going flat.
So a couple of problems that Davey Allison has to contend with. Not only a possible engine problem, but a tire may be going down on that car. And that's what can happen to a machine that was just absolutely unbelievable in terms of speed in the qualifying and in the practice. Earnhardt still leading and dominating the Peak Performance 500 here at Dover. Second place car will show you the interval between first and second. Bill Elliott is not too awfully far behind.
Well, he still dominates. So we can get both cars in the same frame on the camera on the screen, we'll say he's dominating.
That, of course, is Ken Schrader right there behind Bill Elliott in third in car number 25.
Michael Waltrip's having a good run. That Country Time Pontiac, he's running extremely well, staying right on the back bumper of Ken Schrader. We see Michael, the yellow car, come off.
He had just gone a lap down before that caution came out. He tried to beat Dale Earnhardt back to the start-finish line, but couldn't quite do it.
Still being shown in 8th place is Michael Waltrip. You sat on the pole for yesterday's Busch Grand National race. Here is Dick Trickle now in car number 84, who again is running in 4th position as he tries to put a lap on the 27 car of Rusty Wallace. Trickle moving inside, and he's going to do it rather easily.
Rusty's having all kinds of problems. This is so unlike a Kodiak Pontiac. It usually handles in the groove, wherever the groove of the racetrack is, or the best way around. That's where we usually see the 27. We're not seeing him there today. We're seeing him all over the racetrack. Martin closes in on him to put another lap on Rusty Wallace. Barry, you guys down the pits, you still got some work to do for Rusty.
Yep, it's just not going right for Rusty today.
Martin pulls alongside.
There is the leader, Earnhardt. Here comes second and third, Elliott and Schrader.
And Schrader is putting the heat on Bill Elliott now.
He's been over 200 miles now, and these cars have moved up the racetrack. They've got a couple of grooves out there, and they can run. Look, Schrader's on the inside of it, trying to take that spot away. The right front smokes.
Across the line is still Elliott with a half a car length advantage on Tim Schrader. Let's see what happens here in the first and second turn. Schrader pulls alongside of Elliott. The crowd is cheering here in front of us. I don't know who they're cheering for or against, but they are standing on their feet and yelling. Here is Schrader still with the inside line on Bill Elliott, but Elliott not willing to give up second position.
Well, he does give Schrader enough running room down there, but so far it hasn't been quite enough, but maybe he'll get him this time going into turn one.
Yeah, he gets the nose at least ahead. Not completely made the pass yet, about a half a car length.
Don't speak so soon there. Ken Schrader won the race yesterday, so he knows how to get around this racetrack.
Well, Ken Schrader has won in just about every division of racing, whether it be open wheel or closed wheel or dirt or whatever, and he now takes second position.
No.
Yes, yeah, he did too.
No.
Yeah.
No.
He's got him this time.
Okay. Oh, Elliott, what are you doing up there?
And here comes Michael Waltrip taking advantage of Elliott, getting sliding high in turns number 1 and 2. Schrader added another division to his long list of those that he has won in yesterday in the Busch Grand National race. We're watching from Michael Waltrip's car, Bill Elliott right alongside.
Bill Elliott, once Schrader got by, it looks like either Schrader has got a rocket in that car or Elliott slowed down, one or the other. I don't know which.
Jeff Bodine coming in for an unscheduled pit stop. We had reported earlier that he looked like he'd lost a cylinder. He had been slow, but now he's coming in for an unscheduled green flag pit stop.
He was 15th.
And they're going to hit him right on down to the garage area.
They'll do the work in the garage area on the number 5 Levi Garrett Chevrolet, driven by Jeff Bodine. So there is Dale Earnhardt, who still leads. Here are the top 10 as we have completed now 226 laps at Dover. A time and effort into making that banner that hangs down in turn number 4 here at Dover, saying that ESPN, you're the tops, and promoting Benny's Hat of the Week. What is it for this week? Well, let's get the answer from the man himself.
I've had a lot of hats this year, hats that were bought and sent to me. Nice looking hats, strange looking hats. But I don't think I've had one that was put together kind of like this hat. Martha Trago in Salisbury, Maryland, is a babysitter for Gregory Hickman. They watch the races on Monday. They tape the races, watch them on Monday, and Gregory is a big fan. So they sat down and made this hat. Martha, you did wonderful. And Gregory, his favorite driver is the big guy. And you know who the big guy is? This fella, Bill Elliott. What do you got to say to Gregory?
Well, I just say hello, Gregory, from the big guy, but I'm not the big guy. This is.
Oh. Gregory, Martha, thank you very, very much for the hat. And Randaman, North Carolina, on October the 14th and 15th, is having NASCAR days. They're going to have all kinds of show cars, all kinds of NASCAR things there, a celebrity auction. That's where the hat's going to Randaman, North Carolina, October 14th and 15th.
Well, a few weeks ago, Jeff Bodine was the subject of our Hat of the Week after that crash at Watkins Glen. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who's with him here at Dover.
Well, Bob, right now he's the subject of serious work being done on the engine compartment here in the garage area. Jeffrey, what's the problem?
Jerry, something has been going wrong with the engine for quite a few laps. That's why it slowed down. It was vibrating and just wouldn't run right. We didn't know what was wrong, and finally, whatever was in there going wrong finally went wrong, and they're trying to find out what it is right now. It's more than likely in a valve train, but that's just a guess. They're going to try to patch it up so we can get back out there. You know, everything was going pretty good. The track's in good shape. Tires are working good. No problems there. We had a little problem with the car, but we had adjusted, and it was handling pretty darn good. It ran pretty good on 7 cylinders, but here we are sitting in a garage. We're losing a lot of points. Wish we were still out there. Maybe we can get back out.
Well, Jeff Bodine is going to have some company here in just a couple of minutes, and possibly they're getting ready to bring Alan Kowicki back in. Alan Kowicki's crew was running by us here a minute ago. They apparently have a broken header on the Kowicki car, and they will come in and try to weld it, so he can lose some valuable time as well. Bob?
All right, thank you, and we'll keep our eye on whether Jeff Bodine is able to get back into this competition. It's not quite the halfway point, and Bodine finds himself in the pit area waiting for repairs to be made to the number 5 Levi Garrett Chevrolet. Ken Schrader is running in second position. Now, when you talk about Winston Cup points, sure, you talk about the battle for the Cup itself and the $1 million, but virtually every driver out there is battling for the money that will be awarded at the end of the year. And look how close Jeff Bodine and Ken Schrader are in points. Now, Davey Allison is 6th, Ricky Rudd 7th, Jeff Bodine is 8th in points, but only 2 behind Jeff is Ken Schrader. And with Schrader running second and Bodine in the garage area, those points could certainly change.
And look, Harry Gant was only 3 points behind Ken Schrader, but Harry Gant already out of the race this afternoon. The Skull Bandit went in the garage early this afternoon. And then, you know, I think Schrader is gaining on Earnhardt.
Yes, he is. He is definitely picking up on him. The car is working well, the Folger Chevrolet, and he has worked his way through traffic, and you can see now just the difference between them. He is definitely gaining.
Ken Schrader won here yesterday in Busch Grand National competition. He knows what it takes, and earlier in the weekend we asked Ken Schrader, what does it take to win here at Dover?
First off, any place in the Winston Cup Series now, it's just got to be your day as far as not having the flats and that kind of stuff. But you got to run hard here. You got to run hard all day long. If you get off a little bit, you get a set of tires with the stagger off, you can lose a lap here real quick because they lap the place so quick. You just got to really run hard here.
And he is running hard. So believe me, he is. Look at this line he's taking that up high on the racetrack. Earnhardt staying on the bottom, Schrader way high.
Yeah, the inside groove has really been working good for Earnhardt through these first 240 laps, but we said early in the race that the groove would move up. It normally does here at Dover. A lot of the race cars have been running high. Ken Schrader has found it is liking up there. The car is working well up there. As a result, he's picking up on Earnhardt.
Watch just how high he goes, folks. Watch. Way, way up the racetrack. Look, Earnhardt on the bottom on the white line, Schrader up there.
Now, one thing that this will let Schrader do, it keeps his RPMs up in the engine, lets him come off a little bit faster off of the turns and go down the straightaway faster.
And Alan Kowicki is also having his problems. He has fallen a lap down, and he is in 7th position. Jack can tell us what's wrong with this car.
Well, Bob, you heard Jerry Punch allude to the fact that they've got a broken header. When they lifted the hood during the last stop, they determined that the header is busted off down by the number 8 cylinder. We asked them why they would not bring the car in to effect repairs, and they said, the way we figure it, to weld the header up would take 10 laps. To slow down at this point in the race when we have to go, we should only lose about 5 laps. And that could be the difference in about 20 points. So that's what they're going to do, is try and just link around and stay out there with a wounded header.
Well, it won't be too long before we'll be in Phoenix, Arizona, and the side of Allen's first Winston Cup win. And look at this as Rusty Wallace
and Kyle Petty, they've been going at it for quite a while. Rusty pulls up on the outside of Kyle. He may have him going down in turn 1.
Kyle is 2 laps down. Rusty is only 1 lap down at this point. They're not battling for position, just track position.
And quite a duel it was. Here comes Hut Strickland to the outside now of Kyle Petty. Hut in number 57.
I tell you what, that high groove is really working for some guys now. Hut Strickland moved up to the high side and was running extremely well that one corner down in 3 and 4.
Riding with Kyle Petty in the Peak Performance Race Cam. That's Hut Strickland in the Heinz car just ahead.
Yes, he was able to get by Kyle Petty by going way high on the racetrack, where Rusty Wallace, Hut Strickland, are off Ken Schrader up on the top side.
Earnhardt and Schrader. There is Earnhardt crossing the stripe and completing lap number 247. And there is second position. You can see that there are 2 cars between first and second. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
We're standing in the Folgers pit with team manager Richard Broom. Richard, you guys really have Kenny dialed in here, but you really can't talk to him. You got a little bit of a problem.
Well, I didn't really understand the question, but we got radio problems. We're closing in on him, but we're just going to try to settle in and run with that.
Well, apparently Kenny Schrader has been trying to talk to the crew.
And Rob Moroso spins.
We have a spin up in turn number 2. Rob Moroso slides sideways in the number 22 Prestone sponsored car, gets it headed the right direction, and now begins to move away, but it will bring out our 3rd yellow flag of the afternoon.
Dale Jarrett was on the inside of Moroso going into the turn, and they got together, and around Rob Moroso went.
And here comes the 71 car of Dave Marcus, who tried to get a lap back and did so on the leader, Dale Earnhardt. So we show Dave Marcus 10 laps down. That means it'll only be 9 down now.
That was a heads-up move on Dave Marcus.
Now let's take a look at, again, the spin over in turn number 2.
We don't see the cars we're talking about there. They're coming in the corner side by side, Moroso and Dale Jarrett. It makes some contact. Moroso spins. Tell you what, look at our leader. Look at Earnhardt just getting by.
Boy, he did.
Our Winston, not only the leader of a race, but the Winston Cup leader could have very easily been in that accident.
Luck plays a great part in whether you win the Winston Cup, and Dale had luck riding with him on that particular instance. They change all 4 tires on this number 22 car, driven by Rob Moroso, and he'll be going back out.
That's not legal, is it, Nick?
Well, I thought the pit was just now coming open, pit road.
Well, in any case, let's go to Jerry Punch, who'll call this stop by Dale Earnhardt.
Well, the halfway point, and Dale Earnhardt makes the entry on the pit road. Right side cars for the Goodrich Chevrolet. Almost everyone on pit road. They have changed right side cars and cleaned the windshield. Ricky Rudd is in likewise. Rusty Wallace's crew waiting for him. Let's go up to Dick Trickle's pit and Jack Carew.
Well, Jerry, they're looking over the wound that Dick Trickle has in the left front area of the car. They're changing tires. They're going to go for 4 likewise, cleaning the front grill area away so that the car will continue to run without overheating. One of the members of Alan Kowicki's crew jumped across the wall to try and move a tire out of the way of Dick Trickle because their driver will be coming in momentarily as well. Now they're going to tape a Band-Aid on the front, and Dick Trickle will be away as soon as they've completed their work. Very tight quarters down here on pit road.
Well, that car will be easy to spot because the Band-Aid they put on the left side of that car is bright green. Away goes Dick Trickle back out onto the racetrack. Right behind him is the 75 car of Morgan. Make that the 21 of Neil Bonnet. So the caution flag is out. The halfway point of the race has been reached. 250 laps completed here at Dover Downs. Name and Filters Purelator, exceptional protection for exceptional vehicles like yours. 1968, and the NASCAR Stars are at Trenton Speedway in New Jersey for the 4th race of their Northern Tour. Points leader number 71, Bobby Isaac, is having a good run. But it's pole sitter number 98, Leroy Yarborough, and the Junior Johnson Ford who's leading. Yarborough hasn't won a super speedway race in more than a year. Number 48 is James Hilton, still active today. David Moda, number 69, breaks a sway bar and spins, and Brooks is eliminated in this crash on lap 119. Yarborough is still leading. Charlie Glotzback in number 6 will finish 4th. Here's Richard Petty just before he left the race with engine problems, challenging David Pearson, who'll finish 2nd. Leroy leads all but 15 laps and registering one of 14 wins in his NASCAR Winston Cup career. That racetrack, of course, no longer exists. Here on the East Coast, Dover Downs International Speedway does host the Winston Cup race, and we have just gone to green once again, lap 253. Here is Dale Earnhardt leading him down. It's Bill Elliott running in second position. Ken Schrader is third. Fourth is Mark Martin, and in fifth position is the 84 car of Dick Trickle. Michael Waltrip is between our first and second place cars. Waltrip's number 30 slides high on the racetrack, and here comes Elliott to the inside. And Schrader watching all of this from just behind Michael Waltrip. Now they both get to the inside of the racetrack.
Elliott just can't get by. Michael Waltrip running extremely well. Elliott may have him this time. I don't know.
Smoking the tires. By the way, Michael Waltrip is in 8th position. He's a lap down, but making Bill Elliott really work for that pass.
Let's make that 7th position. There are only 6 cars on the lead lap now. Alan Kowicki has gone a lap down, and so Michael Waltrip, the first car up there, now in 7th position.
In case you're wondering why you're not seeing the in-car camera battle for this position, is because our helicopter, which of course transmits the signal, has had to land for fuel. We'll be back in the air momentarily, and we will be able to show you the shots. Meanwhile, both Elliott and Ken Schrader have been able to pass Michael Waltrip.
Looks like Schrader was able to get by a little bit easier than Bill Elliott, which means, I don't know what, maybe that Schrader's running a little bit better than Bill Elliott right now. So we'll see. Schrader has anything for the 3 car, Dale Earnhardt.
Well, Bill Elliott is just now within a few car lengths of Dale Earnhardt. Elliott running second. Bill Elliott, what is the toughest part about running here at Dover?
I think just being in the car so long, you're in the corner. To me, it's a lot like comparing it to Atlanta, because you are in a turn so long and the straightaways are so short, and it just takes a lot out of it.
Well, that's exactly what you talked about in the opening, Benny and Ned. Not only are you in the corners a long time here, but you're on the racetrack a long time. 4 hours minimum for this 500 miles.
Exactly, an awfully long. It's too long to talk. We'll be tired out before this is over.
I'm tired out already, and we're only in lap 259.
You know, Bill Elliott might have been holding a little something back, because he is running closer to Earnhardt than he has all day. He's been up there in the top 5. Haven't seen that much of him. He didn't fight Ken Schrader too much when Schrader passed him a while back for second, but now that he's up there in clear running, he's growing a beat on Earnhardt.
He is really closing in. Bill Elliott has won 3 times on this racetrack. He won both races last year and in 1985.
Look, he's closing in on Earnhardt.
He sure is. He's really reeling him in.
And Ned says that Bill Elliott's got to finish, 16 positions better than Dale Earnhardt in every race?
Yeah.
He's not concerned about the Winston Cup right now. Elliott wants to win this race, and that's all.
That's it.
One thing he is concerned about is the fact that he came into this race tied with Davey Allison for 5th, so he would at least like to go into a solid 5th or 4th position in points.
Which there's quite a bit of money difference in each position in the Winston Cup also.
As a matter of fact, between 5th and 6th position, there's a difference of $20,000. So, yeah, there is a lot at stake.
For a guy of your means, that's no money, though.
Yeah, right. Here's Jimmy Spencer, Derry Cope, and Jim Sauter, as Cope and Sauter now are in a side-by-side battle. Sauter has shown 3 laps down in 19th. Derry Cope is a lap down in 12th, and Jimmy Spencer is also a lap down, so he would be in 11th.
Sauter moves by, makes a good move on Derry Cope and goes by. And there's Phil Parsons, the black and white 55, the Crown Skull Classic goes by Derry Cope.
So Cope here loses 2 positions just in a matter of moments. There's the 4 car driven by Tommy Ellis now in relief of Rick Wilson.
He's running good now, Bob, but he's about 10 laps down. And he's just out there running as good as he can and trying to gain as many points for Rick Wilson as he can, and Jerry Punch is with Rick Wilson.
This driver had a rough day of it here. He had a great start, though, Rick. The car was just flying out there.
It sure was. The Kodak Sam Oldsmobile was really running good. We were just pacing ourselves. We had a car that was strong enough to win the race, and we cut the fuel miles a little short and run out of gas, and just a calculation risk. And we come in, we couldn't get it cranked, and we lost some laps, so I decided to get out. The guy was doing a good job, and the car was running great. I just wish you could be out there. We could have won the race today.
Well, how's the knee and the feet that you hurt at Richmond last week?
Hey, when you're running that good, you don't even think about it.
Best medicine for a driver is a great race car, and he had one today. Gentlemen.
Rick Wilson from Bartow, Florida. Tommy Ellis now in relief. And you know, this is the silly season here in Winston Cup competition as the drivers try to decide what they're going to do next year. With all the Winston Cup changes going on, Tommy, are you putting your name into the pot?
To be honest with you, I'm real happy where I'm at. It's no pressure, and I have a lot of fun. But Winston Cup is where I'd really like to be. With the right opportunity. I thought I had a shot at the Bernstein ride and also Larry McClure's ride, but somewhere along the line, we got sidetracked and didn't get the deal. But I'm not really all that disappointed because I've got a really good opportunity where I'm at. I feel like we can repeat this championship, and I'm having fun, and I make a decent living. So I don't know. I would like to be in the Winston Cup racing in a good car with a good team, but if it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world.
Well, Tommy Ellis, of course, is the defending Busch Grand National champion, and he added a couple of points to the situation yesterday here at Dover. Now, Tommy relief drove for Rick Wilson here in 1988 when Wick was recovering from a crash at Charlotte, and in that race, Tommy Ellis finished in 7th spot.
Say one thing, he's got a heck of a picture in front of him now. They are real. Hillen and Derek Cope get together to smoke off the tires, but they all was able to get them back under control.
Bobby Hillen was sideways and saved it. Here's Kyle Petty moving the inside now of Bobby.
Kyle Petty moving on the inside of Bobby Hillen and also moving on the inside of Derek Cope in the Pure Letter Pontiac. Cope gave a signal to Bobby Hillen like, hey man, I'm sorry.
Take a look at it again. Watch Bobby Hillen on the left of your screen.
Hillen goes up, touches the left rear on the Cope car. Maybe he wasn't motioning to him, that's okay. And here goes Morgan Shepherd by Hillen. Trying to get by Hillen.
Well, some good racing going on there, but meanwhile, let's check on how Dale Earnhardt is doing in his bid to stave off the challenge of Bill Elliott. You can see that there are still several car lengths separating the two. Our Napa race summary shows that Earnhardt led 201 of the first 270 laps at an average speed of 126.401. We've had 5 leaders, 7 lead changes, 3 caution periods for a total of 14 laps, but nothing serious. 6 cars on the lead lap. Those that have led a lap, Alan Kowicki, Davey Allison, Dick Trickle, Dale Earnhardt, and Derek Cope. So each of those gentlemen pick up 5 Winston Cup points. Out of race, Larry Pearson, James Hilton, Harry Gant, Tommy Crozier, Lake Speed. Also out of competition, Jack Ely and Jeff Bodine, who put his car behind the wall just a few laps ago. We'll be back with more of our live coverage on this Sunday afternoon of Winston Cup racing. Again because Alan Kowicki blowed up, or it appeared as if he did. A lot of smoke coming from that car, and there's a lot of action on pit road in Earnhardt's pit. Here's Jack Arute.
And the Flying Aces, as they call the National Pit Crew Champions, have gone to work on Dale Earnhardt's car. They're going to change 4 tires and fill the tank with fuel. They've changed the stagger just a bit, and Jerry punches in Bill Elliott's pit. Jerry?
Well, Tommy Cole has run around with the jack and put the jack beneath the left side of the car. They've already changed right side tires on the Elliott car. He will likewise get 4 tires. He is down and away. Let's take a look at Kenny Schrader's pits. He is changing left side tires as well on the Folger Chevrolet. Schrader down and away. Rucci is 4 tires up. They race out of the pits back to turn 1.
Routine pit stops here under caution. Our 4th of the afternoon. There is Earnhardt, who got in and out very, very quickly.
When you say routine pit stop, folks, what I want to tell you is, here's a replay of Alan Kowicki having an engine problem. And look, that's Earnhardt right behind Kowicki.
All of a sudden, at the end of the straightaway, a big puff of smoke from the number 7 car, and Earnhardt again lucky that he wasn't closer to Alan Kowicki.
How many of those do you think Earnhardt can stand? That's twice that all the trouble happened right in front of our leader, Dale Earnhardt. But, you know, we talk about just a routine pit stop. It's life or death down there. Those guys put everything that they have into all those pit stops.
Several others are making pit stops, including the 17 car of Darrell Waltrip. Jack Arute is there to call this stop.
Darrell Waltrip, who has had more than his share of problems today, as Davey Allison comes on the pit road. Both of these drivers are experiencing serious handling difficulties. Davey Allison, they were going to take a look and check and see if he might have a faulty shock. They ran back there to grab a shock absorber. And now it looks as if they've elected not to make the change there. In the meantime, Darrell Waltrip and the Tide Ride have changed 4 tires and they're back out but way behind the lead pace.
Yeah, they are, Jack. As a matter of fact, he's 5 laps down, was shown in 23rd before the yellow came out, and the work continues on the Davey Allison car. And now they begin to push him away.
He's been fortunate to stay in the lead lap with the problems he's had here today. He was not too far from being lapped by Dale Earnhardt when this caution came out, so he's been fortunate in that respect.
Again, we are cautioned because the NASCAR and track officials are checking for oil that could have been laid down when Alan Kowicki suffered a mechanical problem. National Speedway, Rusty Wallace has been black flagged. What's the story down there, Jack?
Bobby jumped the start. They brought him in for a simple stop-and-go penalty. On that restart, he inched about 2 feet ahead of Dale Earnhardt, the man he's battling for the championship, and Dale just literally said, go ahead, jump the start, big boy, and they gave him the black flag.
Well, take a look at it, Jack. It's quite interesting. You'll notice how Earnhardt holds back here and watches Rusty go ahead, and he says, we think just exactly what you indicated. Here it is again.
Well, the rule is in NASCAR that the leader, and that's Earnhardt, the black car on the outside, he is the fellow that dictates when the race restarts. And in that situation, Rusty Wallace in the white 27, he dictated when the race started. NASCAR says that's wrong. You got to go in for a stop and go penalty. He doesn't lose a lap, but he does lose a half lap, and that's the time that it takes to go in, stop, and take off again.
And Rusty was also black flagged at Richmond for passing outside on a restart. So all this means that Dale Earnhardt continues to have things in hand here, not only in terms of this race, but for the Winston Cup. Bill Elliott, however, is challenging him for that lead, as Elliott now is right on his back bumper. Let's go down to Jerry Punch, who's with Alan Kowicki.
Another driver having his troubles today here at Dover is Alan Kowicki. And Alan, what put you finally out of the race?
Well, we broke the header off and the engine started missing, and we just kept on running it there. Eventually the engine blew, and it probably had something to do with that or breaking off in the first place.
Is there anyone out there that can run with Earnhardt? He seems to be just so strong. Even Schrader was telling his crew he wasn't sure he could handle him.
Well, he looks pretty good. Our car was running good, and we just got behind there when we had to stop and take a ratchet out of the rear, but we were still in the lead lap, and staying on the lead lap. I couldn't get back up there to tell if we could have run with them or not, but he looks like the strongest car at this point.
Dale Earnhardt awfully strong, but hey, fellas, Bill Elliott making his move now, trying to catch him coming out of turn 2.
Indeed, they're separated by only about 3 car lengths, but look at this. Here is the 88 car driven by Jimmy Spencer and the 55 of Phil Parsons, and they are battling for position. The 17 of Darrell Waltrip not on the same lap as 88 and 55. Now we'll take a look at a replay of something that occurred just a lap or so ago.
3 abreast. Ned and I watched those cars go down the back straightaway, 3 abreast, and we looked and said, what's going to happen? And here's what happens.
Hut Strickland backs out very wisely and lets them go at it.
Because you can see, folks, there wasn't room in between those 2 cars for that red number 57.
No, this fixing to be a big wreck there.
Discretion, the better part of valor there on the part of Hut Strickland. Now here once again is Earnhardt and Elliott, as Bill has been able to keep Dale within his sights for the last several laps. Earnhardt not nearly dominating like he did in the first, say, third of this race.
Well, I don't know if he's slowed down or Bill Elliott's got a little bit stronger. Earnhardt looks like he's running about the same line. Jerry Punch might know, is Elliott gaining or is Earnhardt slowing down, Jerry?
I think actually Bill is gaining a little bit, Benny. I talked to Dan Elliott and Ernie Elliott just a minute ago, and Jack Arute made a comment early on in the broadcast about how they would be chasing the track all afternoon, chasing the track. Well, Elliott's had a problem all day. He had a push going into the corner, and the car's been loose coming off. They've been working and working and working, and every time they get a yellow flag, it gets a little bit quicker. He said we need about 3 more caution flags, and we're on that big black number 3 now. So, hey, I think he's improving on it right now.
Yeah, I think he is too. They are really running close together out there now. And Jack Arute has a comment on Dale Earnhardt.
Bob, real simple. Ask Kirk Shelmerdine. I says, is Dale saying anything about the car? He says, no, he's been real quiet. He says, that's generally a good sign.
Well, he could very well be having the car run just the way he wants it, but never really anxious to pull out to a real large lead over Bill Elliott. Let's take a look now at our field summary. At the end of 290 laps, watch for your favorite driver to see where he is running.
Dick Trickle still hanging in there, 6th spot.
There are 6 cars on the lead lap. Ooh, Elliott really making a bid now. They're out of turn number 4. Noticing a lot of tire smoke on the Elliott car, however.
That means old Bill's trying hard when them tires start smoking. And Ken Schrader, the red 25, just behind Elliott. We saw him just a moment ago, so he's not going anyplace too far. He's still in the thick of things. There we see him, the red car right behind Elliott. That's the 3rd place car.
And here now are the cars that are out of race. There are 26 remaining in the event, and here are those who have dropped out.
I thought I saw some smoke that time out of Elliott's car that wasn't tire smoke.
Davey Allison continues to be on the lead lap, and he has now moved up into 5th spot, passing Dick Trickle. So Allison is still very much in the hunt, and again, the only one eligible for that $159,600 Unocal Challenge money because he started from pole.
Yeah, evidently they've got most of his problems squared away because he is running much better now than he was before they made that last pit stop.
You know, Davey Allison, I discounted him. As a matter of fact, I was going to start reading about next week how much it would be worth at Martinsville next week if Davey Allison didn't win. But how much would it be worth in case he doesn't win?
Well, let's see, $167,200.
Your math's getting better, Jenkins.
Thank you. Dale Earnhardt continues to lead the Peak Performance 500 here at Dover Downs International Speedway over Bill Elliott and Ken Schrader. 200 laps remaining in the 500 lap Peak Performance 500. The lead continues to be held by Dale Earnhardt, but there's been a shuffle back of him. Ken Schrader has gone into 2nd. 3rd is Bill Elliott, or rather 3rd is Mark Martin, and 4th is Elliott, and this is how Elliott lost 2nd.
Well, when he lost 2nd place, as we see Ken Schrader, the red 25, the Folger Chevrolet, that's him on the inside. Bill Elliott, the red and white 9, the Coors Ford Thunderbird on the outside. Schrader just goes in the corner, takes a spot away. Bill tries to come back, but when he did that, he made a mistake because he opened the door for Mark Martin in the Stroh's Life Ford. Here he comes on the inside of Bill. And then it just kept mushrooming. Once they got Bill up, here's Ricky Rudd. He's a lap down in the Quaker State Buick, but he's able to go by Bill.
So Elliott moves from 2nd to 4th in just about a half lap. And now Ken Schrader and Mark Martin will pursue Dale Earnhardt in the lead. Seems to be something dark there on the back of that car. Is that oil off the racetrack or what?
Well, it could be oil out of. He might have just a little bit of oil leak in that Chevrolet, and when he does, it would come up. Ooh, those guys were spinning some tires coming off that corner.
I'm telling you, a lot of tire smoke coming off.
But a little bit of oil leak would go up on the rear panel where it says Fulgence across there and would discolor. But it certainly doesn't look that way because we can't see any smoke from underneath the 25 car.
And Benny, most likely it would be rear end grease coming from it when you see it on that panel rather than engine oil, even though the oil sump tank is in the rear of the car. No, they got them on the inside now, don't you? So most of the time when you see that on that panel, it is rear end grease.
Mark Martin is really driving that forward. That number 6, folks, if we can just follow this car down the truck, follow this car. When he comes off 4, I want you to look at the right rear tire smoke on that car. Of course, he is really going after it.
Folgers, by the way.
Watch this. No, he didn't do it that time, but Mark Martin's been burning the right rear tire off that car coming off turn 4.
There's more smoke off the 25 car that time there at 4 than there was at 3 machine.
Exactly. Those guys might be gaining a little bit on Earnhardt.
Well, we're inside Kyle Petty's car now, and just ahead is Jimmy Spencer, and we'll settle in beside Kyle for a lap or 2.
right, let's watch Kyle Petty. He's hit the brakes. He's went down in turn 3. He keeps the car right on the bottom of the racetrack, hard on the accelerator. Now he lets the car drift back out right against the outside retaining wall, trying to make the corner as round as he possibly can. On the brakes, down in turn 1. Again, on the bottom of the racetrack. Turn stays on the white line. Accelerate hard now off the corner, back up against the outside wall. Wanted to make that corner as round as he can. No sharp points because that makes the chassis gas. Watch him, we'll listen to him back off the turn 1. Back on the gas rock. That's a lap for around the Monster Mile.
And now Ken Schrader has caught Dale Earnhardt. Schrader really smoking the tires. Gets the car sideways in turn 2.
Boy, he said, I got him this time. Let me get on this gas. But sometimes that's not the thing to do. He really just got a little over anxious that time.
Boy, that was exciting. Look, he's on the inside in the... No, he didn't make it.
Earnhardt inside of Rob Moroso coming off corner number 4. Schrader now ducks to the inside also and passes Rob. But boy, Schrader has got to be thinking, hey, I've got a Winston Cup car here, a victory car here beneath me.
Tell you what, he was going after Earnhardt just a moment ago, wasn't he?
Earnhardt has led every lap since 163, and we're on 310.
So that means that he'll get the 5 bonus points for leading the most laps then during the day. So that's 10 bonus points that he's picked up, 5 for leading and 5 for leading the most.
And Rusty Wallace is not going to be able to lead 1 lap today, so that's at least 10 points that Earnhardt is going to gain on Rusty that he can't do anything about.
Let's go down to Jerry Punch. We've been seeing a lot of cars smoke the tires coming off the corners. How about it, Jerry?
Well, indeed, a lot of cars have been having tire trouble, and, you know, every team has their own individual tire specialist. Now, Jeff Chandler in the Levi Garrett uniform, they're sitting on a tire. He is actually gauging the tire and getting the exact stagger measurement to that tire. We look over here and see the Kodiak crew. That's Todd Parrott and John Dotson and some of the crew here trying to gauge their tires. You see? Okay, now let's take a look. We'll roll over here and we'll show you exactly what they do with this information. They come over here to a piece of paper and they put it down here in individual sets of tires. Here's the car with it, and we'll get a little bit closer where you can see here individual sets of tires. Set 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They try to reel in each individual stagger of the tires and combine them according to each set. A battle for the lead. Let's go back upstairs.
And here is Schrader moving inside of Dale Earnhardt in the 4th corner. Here they come off the turn. Earnhardt has it by about a half a car length. Schrader drops in behind him going into the corner. They say Ernie Irvin there in car number 2 to the low side of the racetrack. So Schrader pulls back behind Earnhardt. Now let's see what happens as they come off the corner and race down the backstretch. Still, Earnhardt maintains the lead.
Schrader almost lost the car coming off turn 4 the last time. Look, he's going to try him again. Nope.
Look how close Mark Martin is behind him.
Yep, exactly, Ned. The 3rd place car right behind them. 2 Chevrolets and a Ford right behind those 2 Chevys.
Well, you know, Ken Schrader grew up on the dirt tracks, and he's doing a little dirt tracking today in that 25 car.
I love to see this because Schrader and Martin Martin, 2 guys who need a victory so hard, trying just everything they've got, giving everything they've got. Watch Schrader high, spinning, blowing that right rear.
Smoke. He's going to try it on the high side.
Schrader's really getting a good fight up on the top side of the racetrack. He's going to try that again now. If he can get position on Earnhardt coming off the corner, he'll have him.
As if you get that momentum build up, sometimes it'll carry you down the straightaway, but Earnhardt was right there. You might have had to back off for just a moment. Now he's going to try it on the inside. Earnhardt's going to go high, give him some room down there.
Here Schrader comes again on the inside. No, can't make it.
Now, is he burning his tires up?
Yeah. Well, yeah, a little bit, but he's trying to lead the race.
Well, I know, but if you use your tires up and have to come in for a pit stop, it's all for naught.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, he's punishing those tires, no question about it.
Richard Petty moved up just in front of Mark Martin, almost in front of him.
There are your top 3, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of 317 laps. They are that close. It's Earnhardt, followed closely by Ken Schrader, and not too far behind is Mark Martin. We've still got a lot of racing to go here on a Sunday afternoon in Delaware. Earnhardt leading Ken Schrader, Mark Martin, Bill Elliott, and Davey Allison. second 5 rather, Dick Trickle. Ricky Rudd a lap down. Brett Bodine also 1 down. Michael Waltrip in 9th. And Neil Bonnet in 10th position. So 6 cars are on the lead lap. And look how close it is for the lead.
Nothing has changed. We've been gone for a commercial, but nothing's changed.
Here comes Schrader. Moving to the inside of Dale Earnhardt, coming off of 4. He cannot make the pass. He's tried and tried and tried the last several laps, but cannot take over the lead. And meanwhile, he's got his hands full with Mark Martin at number 6.
Yeah, don't look back, Kenny, because they're gaining on you. Earnhardt breathed a sigh of relief when he looked up and saw the 6 car coming back there.
Again, tire smoke from the 25 car off corner 4.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if Schrader hasn't used his tires up by now. Ned, what do you think? Because he's drifting back, he just might have used it.
Yeah, I think he really burned his tires up a little bit. And I'll tell you, another fellow that we talked about earlier is Davey Allison. Of course, he's still running 5th, but he's gaining on Bill Elliott. Here he is. He's running good now, and with those guys up there battling each other the way they are, that's going to help both Elliott and Davey Allison as these guys battle for position.
Watch Mark Martin to the inside of Schrader now in the battle for 2nd. Chevrolet versus Ford.
Mark Martin's been sitting back watching Schrader and Earnhardt go after it. He's been kind of just taking it easy back there, so he might have a better tire combination now in his car than the leader, Dale Earnhardt.
Now, fellas, there's a car, the green car, right behind these 3 that we've been watching. Ricky Rudd is actually gaining on those front 3 cars. Now, Ricky's a lap down, but if he can get up there and pass them and catch a Coughlin, he is really running good right now.
You know, I can remember at least 2, maybe 3 races this year that has been the case, that Rudd has run so well and run with the leaders, but unfortunately earlier in the race he's gotten himself a lap down and just can't get back on the lead lap. But the car is running well for Ricky Rudd. There you can see he's in 7th place, 1 lap down.
The race for the first 3 spots, Earnhardt, Schrader, and Mark Martin. Looks like it might have stabilized.
Schrader going crossways again as he dived down under Kyle Petty's peak performance Pontiac, car number 42. I'll tell you, he's whipping that car around on that racetrack. But now, as you mentioned at the top of the show, it's not quite as easy to get in trouble here as it was at Richmond last week because that's a flatter racetrack. This track is a little more forgiving.
Now we're with Kyle Petty, and that was Mark Martin who just went underneath. Kyle Petty is 16th, 3 laps down.
You saw his hand go up just a moment ago because when Mark Martin passed him, he gave him a signal, said, thanks for not making it difficult for me, and Kyle Petty acknowledged the signal.
There's Kyle passing Jimmy Means in car number 52. It's like a lot of glare off the windshield of that car there coming off turn 4. It's going to make visibility pretty bad.
The sun is shining pretty brightly here at Dover now. We've had clouds moving in and out, and look at that smoke off that right rear tire of Ken Schrader. Boy, I'll tell you, it's got to be tough on those tires.
It has to be. So Earnhardt now continues to lead in the number 3 car, and we ask him, do you have to try and make your equipment last during this 500 miles?
Well, it does in some sense. You know, you got to run hard here all day, and like I say, it's a tough racetrack. It beats the driver and the car up all day long, and you know, you got to be tough to stand it. And, you know, I worry more about the equipment lasting 500 miles here than I do, but there's a lot of guys going to the race worried about lasting the 500 miles themselves.
It's an interesting comment in view of what we have seen from Ken Schrader and Mark Martin trying to take over the lead from him. And it's also interesting because Earnhardt admitted after the race last week that the heat got to him so badly that he just couldn't run fast enough or run hard enough himself to win the race. It was because of the new car that they had, which had not been fitted properly, and it just got so hot in the cockpit that it wore him out.
He did. He said that those last 10, 15 laps, that all he wanted to do was make 1 more lap. You know, when they talk about quit smoking or something like that, just 1 more day, he wanted to make 1 more lap.
Okay, so the race continues, and Ken Schrader tries to take over the lead from Dale Earnhardt, the top 5, and where the point leaders are running at the moment. NASCAR's Winston Cup Division at Dover, Delaware on the Monster Mile for the Peak Performance 500 live on this Sunday afternoon. And next Sunday at midnight Eastern Time, we'll have coverage of the Formula One Portugal Grand Prix as Alain Prost tries to maintain his lead in the points. And here is Ken Schrader, and he's about to take the lead. And Rusty Wallace was the back marker that he used to take the lead from Dale Earnhardt, but here comes Earnhardt battling back on the outside. First and second are side by side all the way through the second corner and down the backstretch. Earnhardt is going to retake the lead, I believe, although it's a close battle as they go into three.
Ooh, that reminded me of that Gillette halfway leader we had here in June. Remember when Schrader and Earnhardt got together? But yes, Dale Earnhardt comes back and reassumes the lead.
So that put Rusty Wallace 2 laps down. That black flag caused him to lose about a half a lap, and they've just been able to run him down and put him 2 laps down.
Here comes Mark Martin also by Rusty Wallace, and we'll take a look at it again in real time.
You will see Earnhardt trying to go by and lap Rusty. He was not prepared for Rusty to go up the racetrack as far as he did. Schrader took that advantage, dove to the inside, and gets credit for leading the lap.
Got a little wiggly as he came by there too, but he straightened her out.
That was something else. Great driving on everybody's part. But Earnhardt still has the lead. Ken Schrader with the number 25 Folgers car still running second, and Mark Martin is right there in third.
Yeah, Martin might not have shown his hand yet. He's able to keep up with them there with relative ease. Just watching those guys battle up front there, and he said, you know, I've done a lot of that in the past, and I've been sitting on the sidelines at the end. Let somebody else do it, and let me be here at the end and see what I can do about it.
Here comes Schrader once again trying to get by Earnhardt. He's close, right on his back bumper. And there's some traffic in front of Earnhardt. There's Spencer, Darrell Walter, Jarrett Cope. Those are the cars in front of the black three. Goodrich Chevrolet, that's Earnhardt.
So the leader in heavy traffic here, and Schrader may try to take advantage of the situation. He goes inside. I think he's got it. Yep.
Boy, Derek Cope, Earnhardt almost hit him in the back there as he came over that turn. Earnhardt had to hit his brakes.
Now
running over Derek Cope.
Schrader has the lead. Here he comes off corner number 4 with Jimmy Spencer to his outside. Now we'll see if Dale can chase down Ken Schrader or if Schrader has the faster car. Well, Dale has moved up on him already.
Look at this. And Earnhardt squeezed in between Schrader and Jimmy Spencer.
You know, he don't act like he's fighting for a national championship, does he? He's just having fun out there.
There they go by the Tide Chevrolet of Darrell Walter. Ooh! He almost had a little crash him back there.
So Darrell Walter goes 4 laps down. Car 17.
But Benny, when you have a car that's handling like those 2 race cars are, you can do a lot of things out there on the racetrack that from the stands or even on television looks a little scary and even a little foolish at times, but you have a lot of confidence in that car. You've driven for 340 laps and you know what to do, and so you just get in there and turn that wheel and make things happen.
You know, what we look at and say is foolishness and really taking a chance feels comfortable to those drivers. Feels like there's nothing to it.
So now here is a battle shaping up between Bill Elliott in number 9 and the 28 car of Davey Allison. This is the battle for 4th position. Now Elliott was right up there challenging Earnhardt for the lead less than 20, 30 laps ago, but now he finds himself all the way back to 4th and just about to lose it to Davey Allison in car 28.
It took Allison a while to catch Bill Elliott, but he now has run him down. Allison's car running much better than it did for 100 or so miles.
Now here are the points. And look at this. Davey Allison and Bill Elliott are tied for 5th position in the points. So they are really concerned about which one has the better race.
Well, right now they would still be tied because Davey has led a lap today and Bill Elliott has not, so they'd still be tied the way they stack up on the racetrack at the moment.
Mark Martin is challenging Dale Earnhardt for 2nd position.
Mark looks on the inside.
He has that Stroh light Ford running really well. Let's go to Jack Arute, who can comment on Dale Earnhardt.
Bob, on a racetrack like this, the track handles, the car handles can go away in a heartbeat. That's exactly what's happened to Dale Earnhardt. After battling with Schrader for so long and so brilliantly, now he's radioed to his crew that the car has gotten loose and gotten bad loose very quickly. He's had to back out of the throttle just a bit. Let's check in with Jerry Punch.
Well, Jack, you know, what Kenny Schrader did was play it very, very smart. He saw what happened when Bill Elliott went up there and tried to run so hard and catch Earnhardt when we went back to green. Elliott used his tires up, and his car began to drift back. So Schrader took his time. He caught him foot by foot on the racetrack, and he got up where he could run with him, and then he backed off a little bit to cool his tires down. Then he decided, okay, now my turn off. I'll make a challenge. So he ran to the front, was able to get around him, and now he can lead. So Schrader really using his head, being a smart race driver.
And now, with Schrader in the lead, Mark Martin once again pulls up alongside of Dale Earnhardt to make it a contest for second place. That's Morgan Shepherd in car number 75 at the bottom of the racetrack. And Earnhardt is going to hang on to second, but Martin is trying to find any way around Dale Earnhardt.
You know, I talked to Jack Roush earlier in the week, and he said that he might have some plans, some secrets for these guys this weekend. He feels like he's out of the championship. It's time to experiment. Find that extra 10 horsepower that you need so desperately in Winston Cup racing. It might blow up, he said, but it's going to run well while it's there, and it is today.
It certainly is.
Jack DeRoot, you talk to the same guy?
Benny, I talked to Jack just before the start of the race, and he said either we'll be real good today or we'll be real bad. Earlier this morning, because of the fact that it was so hot, they elected to change the entire handling package on the car. So they changed springs, they changed shocks, they changed all the adjustments. He said, we're going to gamble, but it looks as if, as we watch Mark Martin and Dale Earnhardt come across the stripe, Martin dips to the inside of Earnhardt, and it looks like Roush & Company have chosen the right combination for a day that is getting hotter as we go.
Bright sunshine now on the racetrack, and the track is indeed heating up. Here is Martin. He may have him this time. They go into turn number 3. Nope, Earnhardt battles back, but yes, Mark Martin does make the pass cleanly, and so does Davey Allison as he works his way around Bill Elliott. We've just got racing all the way around this track as Ken Schrader has the lead. Mark Martin now moves to second. Dale Earnhardt third, Davey Allison fourth, and Bill Elliott back to fifth position. They're second and third as Mark Martin now sets his sights on the leader, Ken Schrader. Well, we've still got about 150 more laps to go, but I'll tell you what, if it's been anything like we've seen in about the last 100 laps, it'll be a tremendous finish here at the lead. Ken Schrader, Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt, Davey Allison, and Bill Elliott. And this race is being brought to you in part by Prestone Antifreeze. Well, we should be seeing some pit stops occurring here before too much longer. There is Ken Schrader, the leader of the race. And there is Jimmy Spencer, who is in for a pit stop right now.
Yes, he's getting right side tires on the Crisco Pontiac. Ricky Rudd was in during our commercial break, and the Quaker State Buick. Dale Jarrett was in the Hardee's Pontiac, so others will be coming in before too long.
Ricky Rudd running in 7th, and Jimmy Spencer was in 11th position. We're watching Schrader. Here he comes. He's down off the banking in turn number 4. Jerry Punch will call the pit stop by the leader.
Kenny Schrader bringing the Folgers Chevrolet down pit road. Richard Crewman, the crew now ready and waiting. Henry Benfield has the gas can. Through the crew cam now, Schrader comes to a halt. They're coming across, feet in the windshield. They give him a drink of cool water in the window. Awfully hot out here. Now they're giving an extra man to service the driver. Second can of fuel going in by Henry Benfield. Crew now working on that rear spoiler. Dancing around the side of the car. Flames are down and away out of the pits and heads back to turn 1. Ken Schrader with a good pit stop.
And Earnhardt's coming right behind him, Jerry.
Dale Earnhardt is coming in. Here's Jack DeRoot.
And Dale Earnhardt's crew goes to work on the GM Goodrich Chevrolet Lumina. They're going to the right side. They are checking the left side tires to see if they need to be changed. They've elected not to change them. And they get away very quickly.
9.9-second pit stop for Dale Earnhardt. You also saw Rusty Wallace there on pit road as he gets service. Rusty running in 12th position, a lap down to the field. Mark Martin takes over the lead because of the pit stops by Ken Schrader and Dale Earnhardt.
Dick Trickle just made a pit stop. Bill Parsons, Bill Elliott coming into the pit stop, into the pits.
Here comes Mark. Mark Martin brings the Stroh Light 4 down off the banking in turn number 4 and heads for the pit area. Jack Arute will call this stop.
And Jack Roush's team is waiting for Mark Martin. Martin pulls the car very nicely into the pit stall. The crew goes to work. Robin Pemberton and the rest of the team, led by Steve Wheel. They're making a small adjustment. They're changing the right side tires. They have completed their work. They're waiting to take on a full 22 gallons of fuel. They've done that. He's off and away in 14.3 seconds.
Much slower stop than that from Dale Earnhardt. But nevertheless, Mark Martin back out onto the racetrack. And Jack Arute will call the stop by Davey Allison.
Davey Allison brings his car on the pit road, comes to a stop as Robert Yates goes to work. They have come back from all sorts of problems. They're going to change right side tires. 6 seconds are slipping away. 8 seconds. They're making another chassis adjustment on the Thunderbird. They have dropped to 12 seconds. 13.3. He is off and away.
And not out of the hunt yet by any means. So still, Davey Allison remains eligible for that Unicount Challenge money of $159,600. There's the leader, Dale Earnhardt.
But I'll tell you something. There ain't no way in the world that they fill that 3-car up in 10 seconds. They could not have filled that car up with fuel, could they, Bob? Ned, could they?
I don't think they'd get it full of fuel. They changed the tires awfully quick. We'll get a report on that from the pits in just a moment, but most of the time it does take at least 13, 14 seconds just to get fuel in. How about it, Jack?
Well, I'm here with the man that does the fueling, Chocolate Myers. Chocolate, did you get a full tank of fuel in? Did you get a full tank in? Did you get it all in? I think that says it all. He's just real quick. He's pretty big, too.
We'll not dispute his word because he is pretty big, but I'll tell you, it's hard to believe that they got it where that gas flow will go in there that quick.
Man, that was unbelievable. Chocolate, you are my hero, buddy. I'll tell you that.
Well, Dale Earnhardt now has the lead once again with Ken Schrader running in second spot, Mark Martin third, and fourth would be Bill Elliott. We'll be right back. Again here at Dover, and Dale Earnhardt has the lead now over Ken Schrader and Mark Martin. But remember, there will be at least one more pit stop necessary before the end of the race. Dale Earnhardt had a very, very quick pit stop. The question is, did he get the car full of fuel?
We see Chocolate back with the helmet on with the gas tank in it. Look at the chassis adjustment they're making. There was the first can going back. They just started on it. They never put a second can in there. They only put 11 gallons in that car.
Yeah, what Chocolate said, he says we're okay. I'm not sure that he said they got it full. And also, now they might not have been that low in fuel at that time. They came in because the tires were getting pretty heated up. So, fuel might have not been the total problem, but they do have one more stop to go, and I would guess that they can go on one more stop.
So the drama will be played out in the final laps of this race. Jerry Punch is in the pit area with the son of Mickey Thompson. Jerry?
Well, Bob, a lot of people on ESPN, a lot of fans at home may recognize Danny Thompson, an accomplished off-road stadium racer. And last night, Danny was running at Mile High Stadium in Denver, Colorado, driving the Peak Chevrolet. And Danny won one of the 3 events there last night and hopped the plane to come to Dover, Delaware. Danny, it's good to have you in Dover. What are your impressions of stock car racing here in Delaware?
It's unbelievable, Jerry. I've never seen such tight racing in my life. These guys up on the high bank, they run so close together, it makes me nervous sitting down here in the pits.
It makes you nervous, and you banging in the stadium with those trucks. You got to have a lot of fun in those stadium crawls, off-road racing.
Well, you have a lot of fun in those trucks, and you run really close together, but you don't run nearly at the high speeds that you do here. This is really enjoyable down here.
Danny, good to have you here. Enjoy yourself.
Sorry.
Okay, Danny Thompson here with us today. Danny coming all the way from Mile High Stadium. Flew all night to get here. Let's go up pit road to Jack Arute.
Jerry, we checked a little further on this mysterious fuel situation with Dale Earnhardt's crew. You heard Chocolate Myers tell me we'll be all right. As you saw in the replay, they only put 1 tank in. I put it to Richard Childress. I said, are you gambling on fuel? He said, we went with 1 tank. We think there'll be plenty of time to come in and take the necessary fuel to go the distance. We wanted to make the time up in the pits so we could put our driver back in the lead.
Okay, we'll see how the strategy plays out for the Richard Childress crew. Meanwhile, he has lapped a what appears to be ill handling 84 car of Dick Trickle.
Looks like he got the car a little bit loose.
Yeah, he did, coming off turn 4 in particular. Now Trickle is running in 6th place, so now there are 5 cars in the lead lap.
Earnhardt trying to win his 4th race of the 1989 Winston Cup season and add his points lead over Rusty Wallace. And if you're just joining us, Rusty Wallace is 12th. There he is, just ahead of our in-car camera, being carried by Kyle Petty. It has not been a good day for Rusty Wallace. He's running in 12th place, 1 lap down.
That's the Ricky Rudd car, the Quaker State Buick, trying to go by Rusty Wallace. Bulls on the inside of him. Almost gets by, maybe. Yes, he is by.
And Kyle Petty coming by too. Kyle was in the pits here just a lap or 2 ago and has new right side tires on that peak Pontiac, so he's running good at the moment.
Well, the sun has come out and it's much hotter here at Dover than it's been all weekend. Remember, though, last week at Richmond, the temperature was in the mid-90s, and it caused some burns to the lower lip of Rusty Wallace, and we asked him about that.
It was hot. You know, I woke up Monday morning, my whole lip was busted out, and I'm going, man, you know, it was hot. I've never been that hot in my life, but it was worth it, I'll tell you that. It could have wiped the top lip, the bottom lip out. Hey, a victory's a victory, and that's what it takes.
That was Rusty Wallace talking about how he won last week at Richmond. Things not going well here at Dover.
You know, Bob, we're always talking about how hot it is inside these cars, and I thought it was the perfect example because you really couldn't see it that well. But folks, believe me, Rusty Wallace had about 5 huge blisters on his lower lip even a week later that looked terrible. And Jerry Punch, I know you looked at him. What do you think?
Well, that's a combination of the heat and the stress that they go through. And when you absolutely tax your body all afternoon and you lose a lot of fluid, get dehydrated, it just takes a lot out of you, and that's one of the consequences you have to face. Rusty, a lot of the drivers just feeling awful. In fact, Dale Earnhardt last weekend had the flu prior to getting in the car at Richmond, Virginia. That's why he had so much problem with running a race up there at Richmond. He said he almost fell out of the seat. He was going to run 400 laps. He was a little bit embarrassed having run that long. That's a problem, but one thing that's happened here just a minute ago with regard to the heat is that NASCAR has radioed down to the crews and now will allow an extra person over the wall for each of the final pit stops to service the driver only, to give the driver a cool drink, spray the driver down with some water, and possibly give him a cold cloth. So it is getting awfully hot here at Dover.
And we understand that Richard Petty is out of the race after 351 laps because of driver fatigue. Dale Earnhardt, the leader of the race. Remember last week he was just so hot in the race car that he couldn't make a charge for the victory. It's awfully hard to explain, but Dale, can you tell us how hot it really gets inside of a race car?
Well, it's really tough too, but the biggest thing in being hot is, you know, people experience heat. It's easy to do. You get too close to a stove, it's hot, but you can get away from it. That race car, you're sitting in there and you're strapped in, and you've got to run a 100-lap run on it between pit stops, and you don't get a break. You can't stop and say, I'm going to cool off a bit. You stay in there, and you just have to press on each lap. And, you know, you get to thinking things, well, boy, if I can just make another lap, and then you get thinking, boy, I just want to get away from this heat. And you can't. You're there. And you just got to endure, and that's the tough part about it, enduring that heat. It got down to the last 10 or 15 laps, and I was just looking for another lap. You know, just make another lap. And that's the toughest part, is just enduring the heat. Heat don't really bother me that much, but you can't get away from it.
So Dale Earnhardt talking about last week, this week, leading the race and showing no sign of driver fatigue at the moment. We've got more than 115 more laps to go before this one receives the checkered flag. Darrell Waltrip in car number 17 is 6 laps down in 20th position, and Darrell still has to have those memories of the $1 million that he didn't win at Darlington.
Man, I'm telling you, can you imagine one race and a chance to win $1 million, and he couldn't pull it off?
He's had a tough day here today. He just simply hasn't been able to get that Tide Chevrolet up to speed or handling or whatever the problem is. It just hasn't been a good day for him.
Waltrip, of course, fourth in Winston Cup points, some 249 behind the leader, Dale Earnhardt, as we went into this race. Darrell Waltrip 167 behind Mark Martin, who is in third. It was a big day at Darlington just a few weeks ago. And Darrell Waltrip just let the Winston Million slip away, just didn't have it so that he could challenge and win that money. We asked him about the million that could have been.
Well, it's just probably the worst day we had in racing, that's all. Car didn't run good, didn't handle good, and you really hit I watched the tape, and you hit the nail on the head when you said when I was trying to run with Harry and Dale, my car wasn't really capable of doing that, and I was driving about a mile over my head, and I ended up getting the thing up in the fence, and first thing you know, we're in a heap of trouble. So I hate it. I wish I could have done a better job, with the race itself, and I wish I hadn't finished 22nd. If I'd have been 5th or 6th or something, it wouldn't have been quite so bad. But we learned a lot, and somebody once said, a million here and a million there, and pretty soon you're talking about pretty big money. So it was a pretty big deal.
Well, so far in the history of the Winston Million, only one driver's been able to win it. That, of course, Austin Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia. The latest T-shirt around the racetrack is a black T-shirt with Bill Elliott's car on it, and on the back it says, the one, the only $1 million bill.
Kind of rubbing it in just a little bit. You're watching the battle for second position. Earnhardt is the leader. Schrader in 25 has second, and Mark Martin in number 6 is third. Davey Allison fourth, Bill Elliott fifth with 392 laps down, and we'll be back in just a moment. Just 6 more races after today in the 1989 Winston Cup season, and ESPN will follow the battle for the Winston Cup to the final event of the year in Atlanta. Today, we're at Dover Downs International Speedway in Delaware. And our Speed World coverage of the Peak Performance 500 is being brought to you by Peak Antifreeze and Summer Coolant. By Mr. Goodwrench. Mr. Goodwrench knows it's not just a car, it's your freedom. And by Budweiser, Beechwood Age, for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. Dale Earnhardt leads, and while I have the opportunity, let me welcome 2 new race fans into the world. Joshua Goldberg, who was born to our producer Neil and his wife Laura on September 4th, which of course is the same day as my birthday, and Paul Seneff, who was born just last week in Indianapolis, Indiana. Dale Earnhardt leads the Peak Performance 500, but in second position and battling for second spot, number 6, Mark Martin, and the 25 car driven by Ken Schrader. Now 6, Mark Martin has second position, and here is how it occurred.
Well, he caught Ken Schrader, moved up on him within a car length or 2, then moves in a little bit closer. Schrader's car goes high. Martin sticks right down to the bottom of the racetrack, pulls up beside of him, and you can see the smoke coming from Schrader's tires again, as we've seen so many times this afternoon. Mark has to drive a little bit deeper down into the turn as he go up on traffic, but he made the pass.
And there is the interval now between second and third position, as Martin has second well in hand at the moment. Well, Jerry Punch is wearing our crew cam, and let's go to him. Jerry, where in the world are you right now?
Well, actually, Bob, may break up a little bit, but I'm headed in to get a nice cold drink inside the Winston Media Center, and a lot of the national press are in here looking around. We can scan around the room, and you may be able to see a little bit some people in the back there that from all over the country sitting here watching our telecast. You see the monitors in the back of the room. We'll pan around and see that the nice little buffet table set up there, and of course we'll turn around and you can see up there the television screen. So we'll even keep an eye on what's going on the racetrack. But here in the Winston Media Center, just beside the garage area at Dover, Delaware, we see some people, ex-driver Dick Brooks there feeding his face. So a lot of things in here going on, people watching the race as we are watching like you now. Dale Earnhardt coming out of turn 4.
Well, those guys don't appear to be working very hard. Neither you, Benny, and Ned?
I'm going to have to get me a job down there around that buffet table.
Now, fellas, we talked about Dale Earnhardt there a moment ago. Only put one can of fuel in his tank when he made his last pit stop. Now, we have some fellas, Lynn Thatcher and a group of people who calculate fuel mileage, and they're saying that Earnhardt is getting a little over 4 miles to the gallon, and that he's going to have to come in around lap 407 or so, and they just completed 404, so that means he's going to be coming in the next 3 or 4 if their calculations are right.
but that means that's going to leave him 97 laps. Can he make it 500?
Well,
he'd have to stop
about,
again.
Yeah, I believe him about 92 or 93, and that would cut it close.
Inside Kyle Petty's car, just ahead is Ernie Irvin, who was responsible for one of our 4 caution periods of the afternoon. Now the last car on the lead lap is Bill Elliott in number 9, running in 5th position, and Dale Earnhardt is sneaking up on him.
Earnhardt just a couple of car lengths behind Elliott.
And to put it in perspective for the fans, about 2 seconds up in front of Elliott is Davey Allison. So Davey is running in 4th place as Earnhardt tries to come up on Bill Elliott, put him a lap down.
Bill Elliott, the red and white number 9, he does not want that black 3 to pass him, because if a caution flag should fall, then he would be a complete lap down. If he can just stay 1 inch in front of the black 3 and a caution flag comes out, he would be able to go all the way around and make up that entire mile.
He's not going to do it, though. Bill Elliott goes a lap down as Dale Earnhardt moves inside of Bill Elliott and puts him a lap down. Let's go to Jack Arute with a comment on Dale Earnhardt.
Bob, probably one of the most unsung heroes in any pit crew is this man here. He can't go to the restroom, he can't do anything but keep lap times and keep each individual lap. This is Dale Earnhardt's man, and they have made a mark on lap 415. That's when they intend to bring Dale Earnhardt in for the last pit stop of the afternoon.
Now that would then let him go, Benny, the rest of the way. He could make it from there.
That's right, 415. But what that means, folks, is he has to put 2 cans of gas in the car at that point. Now, Mark Martin could probably run to 440, 450. He's only got to put 1 can of gas in his car. So, I think Earnhardt needs a caution flag to win this race.
Well, if he does come in on lap 415, it'll be 6 laps from now, because there's lap 409 in the books. And look how close Mark Martin is behind Dale Earnhardt. That's Bill Elliott running between them, but again, Elliott just went a lap down in 5th position. Only 4 remain on the lead lap. There is Mark Martin in this Pro Light Ford running 2nd.
And you can see the distance between he and the leader. The car on the far left, that's Dale Earnhardt, our leader. Bill Elliott in the middle, and there's Mark Martin. He's slowly creeping up on Dale Earnhardt.
5 to go to the pit stop if what we hear from the pits is correct.
And I bet they will change 4 tires on Earnhardt's car, because they only took on right side the last time, and those left side have to be getting pretty worn. Of course, everybody else who made green flag pit stops only took on the right side tires too.
Ned, you just brought up a great point, because that's why they put 1 can of gas in the last time, because they knew they was going to have to change 4 tires at some point. So at that point in time, they can put 2 cans of gas in.
So that gives them plenty of time to do that. How about Mark Martin, Jack Arute?
Well, Ned, listen to this. They can go to 458 or so. I checked with Jack Rouse right here. He did the calculations to see how much fuel they'll need. They need 12 gallons of fuel to go the distance at 458. So it'll be a can and just a little bit.
Okay, those gas cans hold 11 gallons. So, boy, this is getting interesting. And
folks, you remember the Pepsi 400 from Daytona?
Yeah,
I'll bet you that 6 don't run out of gas. What do you want to bet?
I bet they probably recalculated their calculator since that race and now have things a little bit easier to figure out. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who can update us on Ken Schrader.
Well, Ken Schrader's in pretty much the same shape as Mark Martin is in. They can go to lap 447 when they plan to come in for their final pit stop. They'll need about 12 or 13 gallons of gas. It'll be 1 complete can and a little dash from a 2nd can. So they can make it about the same distance as Mark Martin. Both really eagerly watching the upcoming pit stop for the leader, Dale Earnhardt.
Here off the corner number 4, this completes lap 414. So next time we may look for him to duck into the pits. We're talking about the leader, Dale Earnhardt. The car is getting very low on fuel.
One thing he doesn't want to do is run out of gas.
Yeah, we saw that early in the race when the 4 car driven by Rick Wilson ran out of fuel. And here comes Earnhardt. He's coming in, folks.
Just as we described, Jack Arute has the call of the pit stop by the leader, Dale Earnhardt.
Former driver Cecil Gordon brings Dale Earnhardt to a stop in his pit stall. Earnhardt locks the car up. Chocolate Myers goes with the first 11 gallons of Union 76 fuel. They are going to change tires, all 4 tires all the way around. Myers tosses the first gallon. 11 gallons are in. Earnhardt tries the second 11 as they take advantage of this lengthy stop to be able to go with 4 tires all the way around. The car is filled as far as it'll go with gas in 20 seconds even. Wow.
Wow, what a pit stop.
But he's a lap down. He is a lap down at the moment. That is the strategy that the Richard Childress team employed. They knew they had to get 4 new tires, and so they just threw that 1 can in on the previous stop, knowing that they had the time to put 2 cans in this stop.
Exactly right. You can't outfigure those guys. See, I thought I had them guys figured where they made a mistake, and come to find out I made the mistake.
Well, he can go the distance now as far as fuel is concerned. And, of course, Mark Martin, Ken Schrader, Davey Allison all have a pit stop yet to make.
Earnhardt comes out onto the racetrack just ahead of Ken Schrader, who is now in second position. The leader of the race is Mark Martin in car number 6.
So Earnhardt is a lap down, and he needs to catch Mark Martin as quick as he can and get in front of him just in case there is a caution flag.
There's second place Schrader, and there is the leader, Mark Martin, and he will need a pit stop within the next 30 laps or so. All kinds of stories to be played out here in the final laps of this race. We are 418 into this event at Dover Downs International Speedway in Delaware, and we'll be right back. Speedway in Delaware for the Peak Performance 500. If you're just joining us, we are on lap 424, and at the moment, it is Mark Martin in the lead and Davey Allison in the pits in car number 28. Now, Davey had just gone a lap down in third position and now brings the car in for service. This should be his final stop of the day. They have the car serviced, the fuel spilling from the rear end of the car, and Davey Allison moves back out onto the racetrack. And Mark Martin in number 6 just whizzed by.
So that means that Davey Allison is 2 laps down. Our pole sitter, the Highland Star Ford Thunderbird, had a chance to pick up the bonus, the Unical bonus, $159,600. It's uphill now.
It'll probably go to $167,200 next week at Martinsville. The 25 car of Ken Schrader runs in second position. Jerry, didn't I see him almost come in a few laps ago?
Indeed, you did, Bob Dickens. In fact, what most drivers on the track will do is use a gauge for pit stop when another driver in front of them goes in. When he saw Earnhardt come in to make his pit stop, Schrader started to slow to come down pit road. Now, they've had trouble with the radios all day. Richard Broom was screaming in the radio, "Stay out, stay out, stay out." He was trying to explain to Schrader rather hurriedly that Earnhardt had only taken 1 can of fuel on it. They indeed could go probably 25 or 30 more laps. Schrader managed to get the message and stay out on the racetrack. That might have been the cool move of the racer, I tell you, for Richard Broom and the crew to keep Schrader on the track and hopefully maybe catch a caution flag and get the pit under yellow.
Well, he'll be able to stay out on the racetrack a few more laps now before absolutely needing a pit stop, as will the 6 car of Mark Martin, who is the leader of the race at the moment. The top 5 with 428 laps completed. It's Mark Martin, followed by Ken Schrader. Third is Dale Earnhardt. Fourth, Bill Elliott. And all today, the record for cars running at the end of a race here at Dover, 25. And right now, we still have 30 cars out of 40 that started the race still on the track in competition. Now, there's Ernie Irvin's car number 2, who was involved in an early crash into the outside, and now passing him, the leader of this race, Mark Martin, in car number 6.
And a young man who has never won a Winston Cup stock car race. Folks, this fellow that's leading the race has never won one of these races.
But he's led a lot this year and is in third place in the Winston Cup point standings, has won more poles than any other driver during the year, and got to be feeling good right now, but he does have another pit stop to make.
We'll tell you that Rob Moroso has pulled his car behind a wall. He is out of the race. Mark Martin has finished second 3 times in 1989. Here at Dover earlier this year, also at Watkins Glen and at Darlington. He is poised and ready to win his first Winston Cup event of his career. But he has a long way to go and another pit stop to handle before he takes the checkered flag.
And you know, he can't stop and change 2 tires and fill the car for fuel or put 1 can of fuel in Earnhardt and not catch him. I think that we're going to see an exciting finish to this Peak Performance 500-mile race.
Earnhardt has already made his final pit stop. Although he is a lap down now, he will unlap himself when Mark Martin and Ken Schrader both make their final pit stops, or he should.
In fact, I think Earnhardt is running a little faster on the racetrack now than the car number 6 of Mark Martin, but that comes as a result of having 4 new tires on his car.
Showing you the interval between first and second.
And believe it or not, the 25 still hasn't been by. Here he comes now. There he is, just across the start-finish line in the maroon number 25.
Rusty Wallace makes a pit stop. Jerry Punch is there.
It'll be a 4-tire change for the Kodiak crew. The crew now already working on the right side of the car. Barry Dotson runs around, shoves the jack beneath the left side. And Jimmy Maycar and the crew now will put left side tires on. Both cans of fuel getting in the car. Important to get the car completely full. Good pit stop for Rusty Wallace, the Kodiak crew. He is down and away.
But he has not led a lap today in this Winston Cup race. He has led in 19 of 22 events so far this season. He has been the lap leader in 7 of 22. But has not picked up the 5 bonus points for leading here today. We'll show you those drivers who have dropped out of competition as you watch the action on the racetrack and Rusty Wallace move back up to speed.
Rusty Wallace goes by Ken Schrader's Folger Chevrolet with those 4 tires.
Schrader was way up high.
4 fresh tires. Rusty Wallace has a decided advantage over Schrader.
And the Folgers pit crew is ready for Ken Schrader's stop. Here he is making the pit stop right now. Jerry Punch reports on Ken Schrader's stop.
Kenny Schrader brings the Folgers Chevrolet down pit road with what will inevitably be a 4-tire change. Richard Broom and the crew now waiting on Schrader. Car comes to a screeching halt. Jack beneath the right side of the car. Windshield being cleaned. Right side tires going on. The left front lugs are off. Now the left rear. You see Henry Finfield now looking at putting gas in the back of the car for the second can of fuel. They dash around to this side of the car. Throw the gas can back across the wall, and now they'll have left side tires on the car. Left front going on. Left rear going on. 23, 24. 24.9 seconds. The Schrader is down and away.
Well, that was almost 5 seconds slower than Dale Earnhardt did it. He did it in 20 seconds flat.
And that's Schrader is now 2 laps down. 2 laps down to Mark Martin.
And here is Mark Martin moving through the 4th corner, showing no sign of making a pit stop. We're on lap 441, and we understand it will come in about 2 more laps within the next 2. We look back at Mark from Kyle Petty's in-car camera. Mark moving around. He's in the 4th turn. He's not going to stop this time. It'll be maybe the next time around for Mark Martin. We'll watch for him to see if he comes in this lap. We believe it will be coming up shortly.
His crew is standing out on pit road with the signboard ready for him to come in.
Let's go to Jackaroo.
They have radioed to him, gentlemen, to come on the pit road. Mark Martin, they've decided to bring him in a little earlier than everybody else because he's the last of the leaders as he ducks here on the pit road. Awaiting the stop is the Jack Roush-led team with crew chief Steve Meal. They come across the line. He locks up the brakes, hits the marks nicely. The first, boy, they were very much delayed in putting the first load of fuel in. The gas man just stood there and didn't bring it in. Dale Earnhardt coming out of turn 3, heading to 4. They're going to change 4 tires. Out of turn 4 comes Dale Earnhardt as Mark Martin. Here as Dale Earnhardt streaks across the stripe here. Martin is away in 21.6 seconds.
And Dale Earnhardt just went by. He's in corner number 2 at the moment as Mark Martin steps on the gas and tries to get that car up to speed just as quickly as possible. But there is Dale Earnhardt already in turn 3.
They're going to have a pretty good lead over Mark Martin as Martin now comes off of turn 4. Earnhardt goes into turn 1, so it's a full straightaway. In fact, it's about 7 seconds that Earnhardt leads Mark Martin.
We'll see what happens with those 4 fresh tires. I think Martin now will be able to gain significantly on Earnhardt because now Earnhardt's tires are getting worn.
Yeah, he's got about 30 more laps on his tires than Mark Martin does have, and that should make a big difference.
54 more circuits around this 1 mile track they call the Monster Mile. We're showing you the interval between first and second.
There it is. There's Mark Martin. The Stroh's Light 14 bird goes by the second place car.
Certainly not out of this race by any means. Mark Martin, although he is in second, and Dale Earnhardt is still in the race, and Bill Elliott comes in for his final pit stop of the day. His pit is located at the far end of pit road. Jerry Punch.
All the way down toward turn 1 in the Coors Motorcraft crew now changing right side tires only. He is down and away, and Elliott will make his way back onto the racetrack. Now what I want to do is show you people at home how lucky Ken Schrader just may have been today. We'll take a look and show you exactly what we're talking about. This is Ken Schrader's left front tire, and right along here in the middle of the tire is the fabric is showing in the left front. I mean, there's a big segment about 2 inches wide of nothing but fabric showing on this tire. About another 3 or 4 laps, he would have been in the wall. They brought him in. They brought him in early, and it was a wise move by Richard Broom and the crew because the tire was getting ready to come apart. It's not a defect in the tire at all. It's absolutely a problem with the tire wearing here on the racetrack. So a break for Ken Schrader. Gentlemen?
Indeed, a break for Ken Schrader. He is right behind the leader now, Dale Earnhardt, but he is a lap down. He'll try to unlap himself and then hopefully get a caution that will put him back in the lead lap. Well, don't go away. We've still got a lot of racing to go here, and the outcome is certainly very much up in the air. There's a crash here on the main straightaway involving Neil Bonnet, Dick Trickle, Rob Moroso. Also involved was Darrell Waltrip, but he is moving away and headed toward the pits, but 3 cars are heavily damaged right along the front stretch.
There's Darrell Waltrip's car. As you can see, he did hit something. You can see fire coming from underneath us. I believe maybe the car is just down on the ground as a result of that flat tire.
I would say the exhaust is dragging the racetrack, and that's what the spark. There's Earnhardt in the pits.
Dale Earnhardt makes another pit stop, and he was just behind the accident. He threaded his way through it without having any major problem, but again, it was a close call for Dale Earnhardt. The Richard Childress crew working on the car, changing rubber on the right side. It's going to be a 4-tire change once again.
And Bob, when we went for that break, Kenny Schrader was trying to get back in the lead lap. He did, just as they came across the start-finish line when that accident happened right in front of him.
Earnhardt moves back out onto the racetrack. And here is a replay now of the crash. Neil Bonnet in trouble originally.
I don't know what happened to the car, but he hit coming off turn 4, and we see the guys all trying to dodge him. Moroso and Darrell Waltrip get together.
And then Dick Trickle comes in there with nowhere to go and hits Waltrip as he comes down across in front of him.
And you see the thing that fell off from Darrell Waltrip's car? That's the clock that the scorers use. So they'll have to put that thing back up and make sure that it's working properly.
Back there the fellow is down there now to pick that up, put it back up there. That thing's not as heavy as it looks, does it? He just did that pretty easy. But it was still running. They were still ticking off seconds when he picked it up.
It indeed was a nasty crash. Neil Bonnet hit hard coming off of corner number 4. The ambulance is at his race car, and the track crew here on the main straightaway cleaning up the debris from our first major crash. National Speedway, where we are under our 5th caution of the afternoon. This for the first major crash of the afternoon. It involved Neil Bonnet and several others. This is Bonnet off corner 4.
He had come off of turn 4, and the car just went straight up into the wall. We didn't catch the first part of what caused him to lose it. Neil had slowed down. It looked like a couple of laps before. I had been watching him, and he was not up to speed. Now, whether the engine blew or what happened, we don't know. But anyway, he went straight into the wall on the outside with the front end, really hit it hard, and then came back down in front of the other cars.
Among those involved, Darrell Waltrip, Jack Arute is right there.
And Bob, his damage is very extensive on the left side. They are working down in the front hub area. They've bent everything back. They're going to have to try and peel away the sheet metal before they can even determine just what sort of quick fix they can make on the suspension. One of the brake lines has been severed, and that's only in the front of the car. Meanwhile, part of the Tide crew is sequestered down to the back end of the car behind the rear axle, where they have bent the frame and the chassis there as well. They're using an assorted bunch of bungee cords trying to tie that sheet metal down, because points are still so very important to Darrell Waltrip and the rest of the crew here.
Well, he got knocked around pretty good in that crash. Was able, however, to make it around to his pit area. The cars driven by Dick Trickle, Rob Moroso, and Neil Bonnet are still here on the main straightaway as they work on the Tide machine on pit road. Now there is the scene around the Neil Bonnet car, and they have not yet gotten Neil out of that race car. We will stand by and continue to update you on the situation here involving Neil Bonnet, as he is one of several involved in a crash on the main straightaway here at Dover Downs. Back in a moment. Racing, the Peak Performance 500 from Dover Downs International Speedway in Delaware. Our Speed World coverage is being brought to you by the Die Hard battery, now with more power when you need it most. By Quaker State Motor Oil, the big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. By Xerex, the antifreeze coolant for extreme conditions. And by First Brands Corporation, makers of STP Son of a Gun Protectant. Under caution for the 5th time this afternoon here at Dover, and this for the major accident here on the main straightaway involving Neil Bonnet, Dick Trickle, and Rob Moroso. Now, they have just cut the roof off of Neil Bonnet's car in an effort to extract him from his wrecked race car. The other 2 cars involved in this crash, Trickle and Moroso, are still here on the main straightaway, but they have not dispatched the wreckers yet in order to cut down on the amount of traffic around the accident scene. You saw the backboard being placed in the race car as the effort continues to get Neil out of the machine.
As we said, he took a hard lick, hitting the outside retainer wall head on, but we understand that he is conscious and talking to the safety people, so that is good news.
Yeah, and I'm sure that he's told him his neck hurts or his back hurts or whatever, and every bone in his body, every part of his body hurts right now, so we're going to just
well, we of course never speculate on the condition of a driver until we have the absolute word from NASCAR or from the medical personnel involved here. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, I'm here, Bob Jenkins, with Eddie Wood, who's one of the crew chiefs on this car that's driven by Neil Bonnet. You were down there and helped them get Neil out of the car. What's the situation?
Well, he's just in the car, and they were having a problem getting him out. It knocked the breath out of him. So they didn't want to move him. So we just cut the roof off of it, and they're going to take him out. I mean, he's sitting there talking. I think he's okay.
Did he happen to tell you what he thought happened?
He just called in on radio and said, "What's Phil Parsons doing?" Man, I don't. And then he hit the wall. So I don't know what started, or it started before we come into our site. And all he ever said was Phil Parsons. So I didn't see it. I don't know.
Well, that's still good news that he's awake and conscious and going to the infield care center.
There he is. He looks like he's standing in the seat of the car talking to people now.
We can now see him outside of the race car, and certainly hope that everything is going to be okay with Neil Bonnet. He appears to be in fairly good condition. Twice a winner here at Dover, in 1979 and in 1981. In 79 in the spring race and in 81 in the fall race. Here is a replay again of what happened.
Well, he has already hit the wall, and Phil Parsons is in front of him there. That's Phil crossing the start-finish line. And then the other cars coming in, and Rob Moroso hitting the wall, Darrell Waltrip and Moroso getting together.
And there we see Earnhardt and Schrader. That's the 2 cars just coming off turn 4. Earnhardt wisely backs off the throttle, hits the brakes to try to stop. Schrader goes through and gets his lap back, so he now is in the lead lap with both Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin.
That's 3 times today that Dale Earnhardt, something major has happened right in front of him.
The 55 car, meanwhile, is in the pits, and maybe there was a problem with Phil's car which triggered the incident.
Well, that could be, because it looks like they're doing something to the right front of the car. We don't know what, but there's some kind of work going on the right front of the...
Well, Jack, we see you down there. What's the story?
Well, they've bent the right side of their race car. The Jackson Racing team, the Crown Oldsmobile, they're going to have to take an extra air wrench here to effect repairs to the front suspension on this race car. Let's check in now with Jerry Punch further up pit road.
Well, Jack, we're actually back in the garage area in front of the infield care center. We have some pretty good news here. In fact, a couple of drivers walking out. One is Dick Trickle. Let's walk back and get a comment with Dick. And Dick, if we could, just want to tell us, first of all, are you okay?
Yeah, I just
Just going to be a little sore, and the neck will be sore tomorrow, and got some bruises from the straps. But, you know, safety belts did their job. And I hit pretty hard, you know, almost saw a starter, so just from the jolt.
What actually happened out there, Dick?
I don't know, about 2-3 cars got crossed up, and I went, you know, they hollered yellow, and it happened right in front of me. I turned left to miss them, but they ricocheted off one another, and I got the back of Darrell's after he ricocheted off the car. Then when I come off of Darrell, I think the Rob Moroso car was sitting there from where it spun up front a little further. And, you know, there was just a lot of cars. It looked like a wrecking yard out there, and I couldn't find a hole. I was just too close behind it.
Well, his Miller Buick pretty well used up, but fortunately Dick Trickle will walk away from this one. Likewise, Robbie Moroso has been checked out in the infield care center, and he is walking away. You see Moroso there walking away back toward the garage area. We are being told by NASCAR they will possibly red flag this event here in order to get a chance to clean up the race, and they now have displayed the red flag to the field and will bring the field to a halt as they get ready to clean up there and get further work on the Neil Bonnet car. So, gentlemen, that's it from the garage area in the hospital.
All right, thank you, Jerry, for that update. Yes, indeed, the red flag is out, and the race will be halted on lap number 462, just 38 from its conclusion. There is a lot of debris and oil dry down here on the main straightaway, so when they get all that taken care of, we'll go back to racing.
You know, there is still 38 laps yet to go, and Davey Allison, our pole sitter, had a chance we talked about to pick up the bonus of $159,600. Next week at Martinsville, if he should not do it, he is now, in fact, a lap down. Next week at Martinsville, it'd be worth a bunch of money.
Boy, I'm telling you, $167,200. We'll be back with more of our live coverage of the Peak Performance 500. Red flag situation here at Dover because of an accident here on the main straightaway. They cut the roof off of Neil Bonnet's car to get him out. He is now on his way to and probably arrived at the infield care center. Appears to be in pretty good shape. They will check him over there. Other cars involved, Dick Trickle, also Rob Moroso, and the 17 car of Darrell Waltrip. Let's go to for a further report in Jerry Punch.
Well, gentlemen, I was standing here at the infield care center when they unloaded Neil Bonnet into the care center. He was awake and talking to the crew. They had an oxygen mask on. Of course, they had him laying on a gurney or a stretcher to take him in for routine care. One of the advanced life support units here on staff at Dover, Delaware, had responded to that accident and have taken Neil Bonnet now inside the care center. But the good news thus far is that he looked to be awake and alert, and I'm sure a little bit shaken up and banged up, but seemed to be doing okay.
Good news regarding Neil Bonnet. The track crew is here on the main straightaway, and they've got a lot of cleaning up to do before we can get back to racing conditions. Well, twice now we have come to Delaware for Winston Cup races, and twice there have been some extracurricular racing going on, let's say. We remember back in the spring here when some of the crew chiefs went to Georgetown Speedway, which is not too far from here. It's a dirt track.
Oh, this brings back memories here. How about you, Ned?
Love those dirt tracks.
There's Jeff Hammond signing autographs. Now, they're the big stars now, see?
He's crew chief for Darrell Waltrip, of
And
course.
then it came time to draw for starting position of this big race that everybody was going for.
Joy enough.
So they go in there and sit, you know, like
My motor's bigger than the hood, so that counts.
Yeah, that's good. What you gonna do is
Jimmy Maycar and Barry Dotson.
And it was time for the big race to begin. Now, this was just after Darlington earlier this year, in which Darrell Waltrip and Rusty Wallace were involved in a bit of a on-track skirmish. Or Charlotte, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, this was the next. Ooh!
We even had an in-car camera out at this race.
Great job saving that car.
Now we're going to see what happens after the green flag drops and these guys really start fighting for position. Whoa!
Good thing there's no outside guardrail there, but he would have been in it.
Track isn't quite big enough for everybody. Eddie Dickerson moves down into a challenging position in turn number 4.
Ooh, Eddie.
Oh, there goes old 17 around.
That's Barry Dotson. And Kirk Shelmerdine, he had an oversized car. Everybody else was running a street stock. He was in a big late model, and he won the race. there is the situation here at Dover as the red flag is out, and Earnhardt's car is kind of in a peculiar spot and angle, isn't it?
Let me tell you why that car is parked there. Just in case the starter won't work, when they go to restart this race, he'll be able to let the car coast down and use the transmission to start the car.
They think of everything.
Every possibility.
They really do. Let's go to Jerry Punch with an update on Neil Bonnet.
What we're being told from inside the care center here is that they checked out Neil's arms and legs. There's a lot of people concerned that possibly that he might have re-injured that leg that he hurt at Charlotte a few years ago, but that's not the case. Fortunately, what he did is took an impact against the chest and upper part of the abdomen with the belt and straps in the car coming back in against him. It's basically blunt trauma to the chest. Now, he was awake and alert, but we understand he's going to be transferred out of the infield here to Kent General Hospital here in Dover, Delaware for further x-rays and evaluation, but so far all the news we have about Neil Bonnet has been good news.
Okay, and the other drivers involved in the crash were not injured. There is Neil Bonnet's very badly battered race car. It's being taken back into the garage area. So the cleanup crew is on the track, but stay with us. We've still got 38 more laps of racing to go, and it should be a shootout now because we have 3 cars on the lead lap. With International Speedway, I'm Bob Jenkins, along with Ned Jarrett, Benny Parsons, Jack Arute, and Dr. Jerry Punch. We are under a red flag situation with 462 laps completed. Let's take a look at the leaders as we have them at the moment. Dale Earnhardt, Mark Martin, and Ken Schrader are all on the lead lap. In 4th, a lap down is Davey Allison, and in 5th, a lap down is Bill Elliott. We should be going back to racing here before too long. The cleanup crew is doing its job here on the main straightaway, and Neil Bonnet is on his way to Kent General Hospital locally here in Dover for further medical evaluation, but you have already heard Dr. Jerry Punch tell us that Neil appears to be in good shape.
And that's one reason that the red flag was thrown, because Dover Speedway does not have a tunnel. So they have to open the gate across the racetrack for this ambulance to leave. And everything is in preparation, so just as soon as that ambulance is ready to go, they'll open the gate and he'll be able to drive out.
There is the field lined up.
And Bob, we talked about Earnhardt's car sitting there, and Benny gave his thoughts and reasons for it, and that's certainly a valid reason. But Benny, I wonder, now depending on how the floats are set in the carburetor, of course the carburetors they use today are maybe not quite as critical, but I have seen cars sit in a downhill position and you have an overflow of gas that runs in there that can cause problems.
Could be a problem. What happened? There we see Dave Marcus, a Lifebuoy Chevrolet, Brett Bodine, a Motorcraft Ford. These are the cars still running. Jeff Bodine, Levi Garrett Chevrolet. There's Jimmy Spencer, the Crisco Pontiac number 88.
Jim Sauter in number 44, and Ricky Rudd in car number 26, and Terry Labonte in the number 11 car, still in the race. As we continue on back, there's the number 10 Purolator Pontiac, driven by Derek Cope. Mark Martin, he'll begin the race, or at least resume the race in 2nd position. There's was the pole sitter of the event, Davey Allison. He's a lap down in 4th. And then a little bit of racetrack as we continue our pan back. There is Bill Elliott, who is in 5th position, a lap down. Rusty Wallace in car number 27, who is a lap down.
Dale Jarrett, the Hardy's Pontiac, he's been having some overheating problems. He's still in the race, but he and Kyle Petty both have had some overheating problems this afternoon. Morgan Shepherd right behind him. Ken Schrader, who got his lap back in 3rd place, and then Tommy Ellis in the Kodak Film Oldsmobile car number 4 right behind him.
And we saw Jimmy Spencer in the Alka-Seltzer Pontiac sitting there. Darrell Waltrip, the Tide Chevrolet 42 car, is Kyle Petty, the Peak Pontiac. And Sterling Marlin in the Sunoco Oldsmobile is still in the race, as well as Phil Parsons in the Crown Skull Classic Oldsmobile.
By the way, number 27, Rusty Wallace, is 3 laps down, shown in 10th position. We'll be back with more coverage right after the cars are beginning to roll away once again from turn 2, where they were stopped during this red flag. We took a look now at the top 15 as we have them at the moment. It's Earnhardt, Martin, and Schrader, followed by Davey Allison and Bill Elliott. In 6th position is Ricky Rudd, followed by Michael Waltrip. Brett Bodine is 8th, Derek Cope 9th, and Rusty Wallace is 10th, 3 laps down. In 11th is Jimmy Spencer, 4 laps down. So is Kyle Petty in 12th, Bill Parsons in 13th, Jim Sauter is 5 laps down in 14th, and Dale Jarrett is 5 laps down in 15th. And in 16th position, unofficially, we have Terry Labonte. In 17th position is Bobby Hillen. 18th is Morgan Shepherd. 19th is Sterling Marlin. Let's go to Jerry Punch for a report on pit road about what's been happening during this red flag.
Well, it's very interesting that a number of drivers here, this is a one big family. These drivers, although they're very competitive on the racetrack, they really care a lot about each other as Davey Allison comes back down pit road. But, they really care a lot about each other. Probably the best friend that Dale Earnhardt has in racing is Neil Bonnet. During the red flag, Earnhardt was very concerned sitting in the car. He radioed to Richard Childress and asked Childress to personally come over and find me at the infield care center and get an update report on Neil Bonnet. And I tell you, Childress said, Earnhardt sounded very concerned that Bonnet took one whale of a lick out there, but fortunately the rules in this division create these cars such that they can take an outstanding lick and drivers can walk away pretty much unhurt. But fortunately what we understand is Neil Bonnet may not have anything broken. He got the wind knocked out of him against the steering wheel, but they are going to take him on down for some x-rays, and hopefully that's all they'll find some bruised ribs.
So what appeared to be a very bad crash apparently results in no serious injuries, and that's good news for everybody here at Dover. We'll take another break before the restart of the Peak Performance 5 for Winston Cup Racing, and the event is just about to resume with Dale Earnhardt in the lead. We've been red for about 15 or 20 minutes now because of a crash here on the main straightaway involving, among others, Neil Bonnet.
When we said a while ago when we went to do the rundown through the field, and I said the Alka-Seltzer Pontiac, someone pointed out to me, I said that was Jimmy Spencer. That's incorrect. That was Jimmy Means. I know better. I just got my name mixed up.
We're showing you those who have dropped out of the race. The light atop the pace car is out, indicating we'll go back to green in one more lap.
35 laps to go.
And we can see the first three cars bumper to bumper. Earnhardt, Mark Martin, Ken Schrader.
Well, all that strategy about gas and fuel and all that stuff is certainly going out the window.
Forget it.
Right.
They just go some hard racing.
For 35 laps.
It's going to come down now to who has the strongest car and who's the best race driver who's going to win this race. And it could be any one of the three that are on the lead lap, Earnhardt, Martin, or Schrader.
Just a case of the want-tos, right, Bob?
That's right. It's a case of how bad you got the want-tos.
And all three of those have it bad.
Real bad.
You can bet on that. Earnhardt, because he wants to win the Winston Championship, Winston Cup. Mark Martin, because he wants to win his first. Ooh, a little contact there between Earnhardt and Bodine as they came down for a start, and the green is out.
Sure was. Dale Earnhardt and Brett Bodine made some contact, accelerating down to the green flag. Earnhardt pulls about 2 or 3 car lengths away from Mark Martin.
Schrader right there in third also. The fourth car on your screen is Bill Elliott. They come down to complete the first lap under green with Dale Earnhardt leading, and we'll go back to show you what happened as they came down for a start.
Brett Bodine does get into Earnhardt there. And boy, that could have finished Earnhardt off for the day, but apparently it hasn't hurt him.
Earnhardt has had some close calls today. I wonder if it would knock the fender in on the tire. I don't see any smoke as the car goes through the corner, but you never know. The fender may be just touching.
Boy, Ricky Rudd is on the move in car number 26. He's 2 laps down. Doesn't appear to be any damage to that car. Can you see any, guys?
No, it looks okay to me. I think we would see smoke if there was a fender against the tire, so he appears to be okay.
Look how close Mark Martin is. He's within just a few car lengths, not letting Dale Earnhardt get very far ahead.
Of course, they all put new tires on when they came in for the green flag pit stop, so those tires are in good shape. They were cool when they put them on, and they had plenty of time to cool even further over there.
Dale Earnhardt smoking that right front tire going through turns 1 and 2 just a moment ago.
Now, does that red flag that we have give these drivers a little bit of time to think about what's going on?
No, it just gets you more, the adrenaline going more and more and more. It's probably a detriment more than it is anything else, Bob. Because while it's going on, Mark Martin and Ken Schrader, they just sit there and say, well, I'd love to do this, but when you stop and you think about it, you've only got 35 laps to go, then it hits home just how close they are to that first, well, in Mark Martin's situation, that first Winston Cup victory.
Car smoking badly coming out of corner number 4 is Davey Allison, our pole sitter. Davey Allison with a huge amount of smoke coming from the rear end of that car, and he's going to pull the Hamilton Ford into the garage area. Well,
About right into Elmo.
It was pretty certain that he wasn't going to win the Unocal money, and now it is an absolute definite. Davey Allison behind the wall and out of the race. The Unocal money at Martinsville next Sunday for our live telecast at $167,200. They're the top three: Earnhardt, Martin, and Schrader.
Mark Martin's not able to gain any on Dale Earnhardt. As a matter of fact, he might have lost a car length or two in the last couple of laps.
Earnhardt's car showing the form that it did earlier in the race when he was able to dominate.
27 more laps to go. Boy, look at the problem that Davey Allison has down there in the garage area.
And he was tied with Bill Elliott for fifth in the point standings, and that's going to pretty well shoot his chances of any shot at the Winston Cup Championship. Jerry Punch.
Well, Ned, Davey Allison's climbing out of a smoking Haviland Ford, and Davey, little doubt what happened out there, but you really had a... Davey tried to get out of the smoke here where he can get where he can breathe, get the headset off with all the noise, and the bladder off. There we go. We'll turn Davey around here where you can hear. Davey, you had a great run going out there this afternoon.
Well, it's a tough break for our Texaco Haviland Thunderbird, but you know, we gave it our best. We qualified on the pole. We're in a Busch Clash. We were going for that Unocal bonus money, but it wasn't to be today.
Well, tough break for Davey Allison. Davey walking away, and the Haviland car ran well, but now it all goes up in smoke, and he throws the hoses over his shoulder and heads back to the garage.
Davey Allison's day is done, but we have yet for the race to be decided. There's the number 30 car of Michael Waltrip, who finds himself in 7th position, 2 laps down. We're inside his car right now. He's had a good race.
He has had a very good race. Michael's had some moments today that he ran almost as fast as the leaders.
Well, I started to say, you look out in front of him, he had a lot of clear sailing there, but all of a sudden here comes Rusty Wallace up on the inside of him, and now he has at least that car in front of him. But for a good distance out in front of him, there was no traffic.
These two are not on the same lap. Michael Waltrip is 2 laps down, and Rusty is 3 laps down. Number 88 of Jimmy Spencer and 44 of Jim Sauter running close together on the racetrack, and Brett Bodine also.
We saw Dale Jarrett's car. His car is overheating. He was in the pits during that last caution, and they put water in it, but apparently it's still overheating for him, so he's just going at a snail's pace.
Spencer is in 10th position, 4 laps down. Jim Sauter is in 13th position, 5 laps down, and Brett Bodine is in 8th, 3 laps down. There's Gary Cope also in number 10. He's 3 laps down, so he would be battling with Brett Bodine for the 8th position. Meanwhile, back up front, it's still Dale Earnhardt leading this race. The question is, can Mark Martin close in and catch him? Dale Earnhardt has been so dominant all race long, but maybe Mark Martin is just waiting.
I think he's gained a car length or 2.
I do too.
I don't know. It looks like it's about 3 car lengths. It looked like it was about 6 a moment ago. Neil, what do you think?
I think he has picked up a little bit. No doubt
Now,
about it.
when you said earlier, Benny, there's the battle for the position for the 8th spot between Brett Bodine and Derek Cope. Cope in 10 and Brett Bodine in number 15. There's Terry Labonte also coming into the picture, but he is not on the same lap as these two.
Good run for Derek Cope in the Pure Later Pontiac this afternoon.
He's had a couple of good runs here recently.
At Michigan, that race we did in August, remember?
Yeah, finished 6th.
Yeah, one of the best cars there.
Also finished 9th in the previous Michigan race. Morgan Shepherd a little loose out there.
Derek Cope is trying to get by the Jim Sauter automobile, but he's had some trouble doing it. Now he makes the pass coming off turn 4.
So now it is Derek Cope who has firmly established himself into 8th position. Here is Mark Martin. It appears again as if he is closing in on Dale Earnhardt. You told us, Benny, when you talked to Jack Roush that they were going to go for it all the way, and you would think that Mark Martin is saying to himself right at this moment, if I'm going to win, I'm going to have to do it right now. Let's see what happens. He is making a race out of it. He may make a bid for the lead here in just a moment.
Here he goes on the inside.
Into turn number 3. Mark Martin pulls alongside Dale Earnhardt. The crowd on his feet here in the main straightaway cheering. They come off of the 4th corner side by side. Mark Martin may have him at the line. Oh, it was close. Let's see how they shake out going into turn number 1. Dale Earnhardt, relentless, will not give up the lead. Mark Martin wants it very badly. Martin is on the inside. He is hungry for his first Winston Cup win. They're still side by side, locked together.
Ooh, and Earnhardt goes back, but Martin's going to come back on the inside. Earnhardt really drives it in the corner extremely hard. He might have touched that time coming off turn 4, might have swapped some sheet metal.
Earnhardt and Mark Martin slugging it out for the lead here in the closing stages of the Peak Performance 500.
And you wonder if Earnhardt learned anything there. When he went high, he was able to come on back and pass Mark back or get back in front of him. He might have found himself a groove up there that's going to work for him. And look, they do touch as they come off of that turn. That breaks Martin's car loose a little bit, just enough to get Earnhardt back out in front.
Martin laid down some tire marks on the racetrack. Now we still see Martin battling to the inside of Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah, Earnhardt's trying to use that high groove. He said, hey, if I can stay out in front of him, but it gave Martin the opportunity to move on the inside. But what does it do as they come off of the turn? It looks like Earnhardt has the bite.
14 laps to go. 14 more circuits on the 1 mile, monster mile at Dover.
Mark's been on the inside of the racetrack. He's getting that right front just a little bit too hot. And so then when he really needs to bury it down in there, the right front won't stick. It slides across the racetrack. Earnhardt, meanwhile, up on the high grooves, keeping all 4 tires cool. And when he needs it, he's able to really bury her down in the corner.
Mark Martin was second at Dover earlier this year. He was second at Watkins Glen. He was second at Darlington. Will he be second here today, or can he win his first Winston Cup event? We'll be back to answer the question after. At Dover Downs International Speedway in Delaware for the last 9 laps of the Peak Performance 500. It's still a shootout between Dale Earnhardt at number 3 and Mark Martin at number 6. Martin makes another run at his Strollite Ford down the backstretch into turn number 3. Does he have Earnhardt this time? No, he can't hold on to the lead.
Earnhardt goes high. Here comes Mark back on the inside.
Mark Martin is so close to winning his first Winston Cup race. You know that he's going to do everything he possibly can in the last 8 laps to make sure that he has the victory, but he's got the Winston Cup points leader to pass and take the lead from. That, of course, Dale Earnhardt.
We saw the right front tire on Mark Martin's car smoke again down in turns 1 and 2. That's what's happening. He's getting his car on the that time the right rear smoking as he comes off. Almost lost it coming off the corner.
7 laps to go. 493 complete.
Boy, he's giving it everything he has, but each time he slips a little bit, that's heating those tires up a little bit more and working to Dale Earnhardt's advantage. Although Earnhardt's smoking the tires a little bit too. But he's running a straighter line than Mark Martin is. When you're in the lead, you can do that.
Tire smoke again from Mark Martin's car with 6 laps to go now.
Mark Martin moves up the racetrack. The car will get a better grip up there. That'll cool the tires off and get him ready for that last charge. Looks like he's going to have to run just a couple more laps, get the tires cooled off. About 497, we're going to see a real charge, Bob Jenkins, I predict.
Coming up to 495, 5 to go at Dover. Earnhardt leads Mark Martin.
Now Earnhardt moves it down to the low side, going through turns 1 and 2. That has worked well for him most of the day. Now he'll let it drift up a little higher. He goes in low in turn 3, but watch him drift up a little higher as he comes off of turn 4.
496, 4 laps to go at Dover.
It may be that Martin has used his tires up trying so hard to get by Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt was running high on the racetrack,
keeping his tires cool. Now he's moved on the bottom of the racetrack and seems to be getting a very, very good bite.
3 to go. Dale Earnhardt still maintaining that lead, and he appears to have things pretty well in hand at the moment. Earnhardt has won 37 Winston Cup races in his career. Mark Martin has won none. Dale Earnhardt has won once here at Dover, and he has won 3 times this year in Winston Cup competition. 2 more laps to go. The next time they'll get the white flag. Martin appears to be closing in once again, making the final charge.
He's moved down. He can't wait any longer. He's moved down on the racetrack. He's going to use everything he has in the last lap and a half.
Mark Martin comes in within 2 car lengths of Dale Earnhardt as they both move off the 4th corner and get the white flag from Harold Kinder. 1 more lap to go. Can Mark Martin pull off the win, or is Dale Earnhardt going to hold him off? They move both low into turns 1 and 2. Mark Martin within a car length now as they go down the backstretch. He'll have to make the move soon if he's going to do it. He's still about a car length behind. They move into the 3rd and 4th corners. Dale Earnhardt has things in hand. Here they come off the 4th corner. A little bit of smoke from Mark Martin's car, but he's not going to do it. Dale Earnhardt wins the Peak Performance 500 with Mark Martin finishing a close second.
Well, what a race. Woo.
Here comes a battle between the number 10 and 15 cars. And it is for 8th and 9th position. Derek Cope winds up in 8th, and Brett Bodine in 9th position. That was indeed a battle for position between Cope and Brett Bodine. There's the 3rd place finisher, Ken Schrader, moving underneath. There goes Jeff Bodine by. Dale Earnhardt appears to be well on his way to a Winston Cup championship. Jack Arute in the winner's pit.
Well, Richard Childress, congratulations. You guys gambled a couple of times during this race.
Yeah, Jack, it was a great race. You know, first of all, we got to congratulate Mark Martin. He really made Dale earn it out there, and Dale done a great job for us, but Mark and Jack Roush and those guys done a super job, and they'll win their races, but boy, we're tickled with ours today.
Hey, a lot of people have got to go back to when you decided to only put 1 tank of fuel in and gamble on the tire wear and get your car back in the right position, back out front.
Well, we knew that's what we had to do, was try to make up the time in the pits and try to make it up with 4 fresh tires. And, you know, we told Dale to go as hard as he could, and he did. And that's how we made up our time.
Sometimes it helps when you're a former race driver. That's the case with this car owner.
So Dale Earnhardt wins an exciting Peak Performance 500 Winston Cup race here at Dover Downs International Speedway. We'll be back to talk with him in just a moment.